held up. They're carrying plastic glasses of Bavarian beer. They are here to see whether Bayern Munich can turn this around, and if they do, this will be one of the great turnarounds against Manchester City in the sort of form that they're in. 10 wins in a row behind them.
No, it certainly was an informed Manchester City team, an outstanding team who's strengthened in the form of Haaland up front, who's just in the form of his life. But 3-0 down, to turn that around against a magnificent team like City, that would be huge, and that would send shockwaves through the footballing world.
That is Stephen Warnock, who's here in Germany with us tonight. England defender, Champions League player with Liverpool. Bayern Munich in the red kit with the white trim, and Manchester City tonight in those sort of lime lemon yellow shirts with the black stripes across, the grey-black shorts and the yellow socks, and they're just gathering into a huddle now near the centre circle. Bayern Munich making a couple of changes from the first leg. So Choupo-Moting is fit now, their top scorer, so he's up front. João Cancelo, interestingly, comes in at left back on loan from Manchester City. Things clearly turned sour. He wasn't starting enough. He didn't start the first leg, but he's in the team for this one, and he's got another former Manchester City man, Leroy Sané, ahead of him on the left-hand side. So Bayern Munich with Sommer in goal, back four of Pavard, Upamecano, De Ligt and Cancelo, the captain Kimmich and Goretzka in the middle, Musiala as well as the number 10, Coman on the right, Sané on the left, and Choupo-Moting through the middle. And Manchester City, same as last week, Ederson, Akanji, Diaz and Ake, Stones and Rodri, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan, Grealish, and that man, Erling Haaland. Listen to this. This is going from one end of the arena to the other. John, what a support.
Me and you were here for the Liverpool game a few years back when Liverpool won the game 3-0. It wasn't like this. There's a real sense around this stadium. They've got to play their part tonight.
Oliver Kahn has just been shown on our screen in front of us. He looks as though he's almost praying with his hands together that Bayern might be able to turn this around. And still we wait. The teams are in position here, ready for kickoff. But the referee, the French referee, Clément Turpin, is still waiting and waiting. And in fact, he's gone. He's not on the field at the moment. And whether there's some problem with the communications, and I can see an official down on the side of the pitch staring down into the steps that go down off the field, and I'm guessing that there is a problem with his communication. So therefore, this is whipping up the atmosphere inside the ground, and Pep Guardiola has taken the decision here. In his long black coat with his hood, he's actually stepped forward and he's called across Akanji to have a word with him. So the two of them are speaking on the side of the pitch, and we're just waiting now to see where the referee has gone to. And I see a UEFA official there who's just emerged from the tunnel with a clipboard, and he's pointed to his right arm, suggesting that there is a problem with the referee's communication device. So we're going to have a late kick-off here. That'll be a UEFA fine for someone, won't it? Be a big meeting about that in the morning in Nyon.
Here he is.
And here he comes. What an ovation for the referee. Just how they like it, being whistled onto the field. So he's ready, they've got him sorted out. And we will have a late kick-off here. Choice of listening tonight, by the way. Right now, you can hear the crucial Women's Super League match between Manchester United and Arsenal on Sports Extra. But Clément Turpin blows his whistle, and Bayern Munich get the second leg of this UEFA Champions League quarter-final underway. And in the first half, Bayern are playing from right to left as we look on the dressing room side of the ground where the coaches are. And immediately they knock the ball back into Upamecano, who looked so uncomfortable at times, didn't he, in the first leg. And now across to his left to De Ligt, and then back to Upamecano, the French international, World Cup finalist just a few months ago, and then all the way back to Yann Sommer, the Swiss international, who played so well last week actually to keep the score down. He passes the ball out very coolly through the middle, just past De Bruyne, and Bayern begin to bring it forward now towards the halfway line.
There's a little bit of change in formation for Manchester City. John Stones has dropped back into a back four. Akanji's now the right back, which is surprising. But John, there's been 4 slips in the game already. John Stones went down, Haaland went down, Ake's just slipped as well. One of the Bayern Munich players slipped, so we'll keep our eye on that, because you've got to get your footwear right in a game of this magnitude.
Pitch was heavily watered, but it has been very wet, hasn't it, this afternoon as well. Since early afternoon it started raining here in southern Germany, and at times it has rained very, very heavily. It's cold as well. The temperature, I believe, is around about 4 degrees, and black skies above, and the glowing red lights of the Allianz Arena we can see through the gaps in the roof as Bayern come forward with Pavard down the right hand side. He gives it to Coleman, Champions League winner, with the goal, and as the ball comes in, it's headed away by Stones for Manchester City. Comes out to Cancelo. Cancelo finds Leroy Sané. This is the former Manchester City connection on the left hand side. Cancelo's ball forward, Akanji jumps in, there's space for Sané. If Cancelo can find him, no, the pass is misplaced, and Manchester City have got it in their own right back position. And a twist and a turn from Bernardo Silva, and then he wins himself a throw-in level with the edge of the Manchester City penalty area. So Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 0, and in that sports extra commentary match between Manchester United and Arsenal, there has been a goal. Sani Rugravajala.
It's gone to Manchester United. Manchester United 1, Arsenal 0. Alessia Russo, great ball pulled back. She was in the right place at the right time, inside the area to slot home in injury time. The leaders of the WSL lead going into half-time.
Still the same in the matches in the Championship, by the way. QPR 1, Norwich 0, Swansea 1, Preston 0, and Watford 1, Cardiff City 0 are the 3 matches with goals. Bayern Munich with the ball deep inside their own territory. As we look to our right, all of those supporters behind that goal clapping their hands in unison, and Sommer receives it and then plays it via a deflection out of play for a throw-in. For a goal kick to Bayern Munich, and it is half-time. Manchester United 1, Arsenal 0 in the Women's Super League. Bayern pouring forward with the ball over on the far side, and it's played infield towards Musiala, who just gets a touch and hooks it back to the halfway line. Big strong figure of De Ligt, the Dutchman. Now to João Cancelo, playing against his teammates. What an odd feeling that must be. You know, in the same season that he's played for Manchester City, now in a match of this standing. And those are the rules in the Champions League. Seems strange rather when we'll be at Wembley to watch Sheffield United against Manchester City at the weekend, and the 2 Manchester City youngsters cannot play in the semi-finals of the FA Cup against their parent club. And it breaks down for Bayern Munich, and it's out of play for a throw-in to Manchester City on the halfway line. Stephen Warnock.
I'm just wondering when Manchester City are going to switch the formation and put Stones in. They're getting outnumbered in midfield, and Bayern Munich have dominated the ball, whether it's just something that Pep's going to play with. But it's very surprising, because they have been, over the last few weeks, with him playing in that system, dominant on the ball and dominant in midfield.
Yeah, and he did play, didn't he, when we saw him at the weekend in central defence.
He's gone in now, John.
Yeah, now he's stepped forward. Yeah, just making Thomas Tuchel think a little. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? Ake, who's one of the players rested at the weekend, so it's the same team as the first leg for Manchester City, and 3 changes back from the weekend. Oh, that's a heavy touch from Diaz, and then as it bounced away, he went in on the challenge on Coleman, and he caught him, Diaz. It's a free kick on the right hand side, and it is a yellow card. A yellow card?
No, he's offside.
Oh, offside.
Choupo-Moting, yeah, Diaz stepped in, and just as Leroy Sané won the ball back, Choupo-Moting was in an offside position, but he did just take a chance there, Diaz, and we said, Naden was talking about it, you can get a yellow card, a red card, someone making an error. We saw it from Upamecano last week. One thing Pep Guardiola will be saying is, do not take a risk in this game so early on.
He was fortunate there, because he caught him. Diaz caught Coleman, but Coleman had played the ball through, and Choupo-Moting was in an offside position, so therefore it was offside. I think if that had been in play, I think that would have been a yellow card for Diaz. Sommer clears towards the halfway line, it's flicked on by Coleman. Diaz is underneath this and gets the ball down on the surface and plays it out to Ake on the left hand side, and Ake going all the way back to goalkeeper Ederson. So it is the proverbial mountain to climb. Thomas Tuchel said yesterday they need a wonder they need a miracle, but he said the way to approach it was just to look at it as little steps at a time. Don't look at the whole of the big mountain, just take it, if you like, one goal at a time. But they've got to keep Manchester City out at the other end, this City team that has scored 123 goals in all competitions this season. Musiala coming out with the ball. Yes, Sané back to the halfway line. And then Kimmich runs into a challenge. Gundogan's back there. Gundogan's been able to get a touch on it to send it all the way back to the man in royal blue tonight, Ederson. Clearance from him, high to the halfway line. Haaland jumps for it with Cancelo, and then De Bruyne is challenged. That was a hefty challenge. Netherlands on Belgium, De Ligt on De Bruyne. And he's gone down, he's lying on his back, he's got his arms over his face, and it has been given as a free kick to Manchester City.
Yeah, Thomas Tuchel is furious with the referee, who's now walking over to Thomas Tuchel. He doesn't feel it was a foul, he feels De Bruyne bought it. He didn't. De Ligt went right through him, no right to win that ball. De Bruyne had his body between the ball and the player, and he elbows him in the back, and De Bruyne actually, the ball smashes him in the face.
Clement Turpin, the referee, just walked across to within 4 or 5 yards of Thomas Tuchel and just had a little word, just, I guess, told him to calm down. Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 0. This is 5 Live. Listen as well via BBC Sounds, and also welcome to the listeners on BBC Radio Manchester tonight who are with us for the commentary. City, Ake plays the ball to the far side, and it actually just rolled out of play, and it's a throw-in to Bayern Munich, 10 yards inside the Manchester City territory, which is taken back to Upamecano. So still Manchester City have this comfortable 3-0 lead. Now the other match underway as well in the Champions League, Inter 0, Benfica 0. So Inter with their 2-goal cushion to set up an all-Milan semi-final. Ball played over the top for Coleman. Coleman now down the right. His cross is beyond Choupo-Moting, who couldn't get there, but it's kept in play by Sané, and Sané crosses left-footed to the back post. Ake heads it up and away. What a noise there was when that cross came over from Coleman. This crowd here are absolutely desperate. They want to see Bayern Munich put Manchester City under pressure with goals if they can, and De Bruyne now, he's put under pressure in centre field and forced to deflect it out of play for a throw.
Yeah, brilliant from Bayern Munich down the right-hand side, down Manchester City's left. Coleman got him behind, and he should have played it a fraction earlier. He didn't get his head up quick enough, but the pressure from Manchester City are being put under when they win the ball back is immense from Bayern Munich.
Opening goal in the Reading-Luton match, Chris Wise.
Oh, but big chance for Reading. Andy Carroll 7 yards out, blazing it over the top of the crossbar. It should have been a goal. Reading 0, Luton 0.
Bayern Munich with Upamecano playing it over the halfway line. Kimmich now, change of feet, that's nice. And then he plays it into the path of Coleman, who's away to the byline, pulls it across, takes a deflection, and falls to the feet of Bernardo Silva of Manchester City, who can clear away left-footed. And then there's a nudge on Grealish on the halfway line. The home fans don't like this. They feel that Jack Grealish has won that free kick against Pavard, but it has been given Manchester City's way.
Well, he's won a free kick because it is a free kick. Grealish gets himself across the man, has every right to make sure that Pavard goes for the foul and buys it, and he does. We're just seeing a replay of the Coleman pullback. As he pulls it back, Kimmich has got to take a gamble, and Goretzka, one of them has to gamble and get in the box and make sure the flood in the box.
Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 0. 5 Live final score is in action tonight as well, as John Stones and Goretzka come together, and the referee is unhappy with Goretzka there, and he's given the free kick Manchester City's way, and he's called across the Bayern Munich number 8 just to have a word with him as well, and there's a bit of finger wagging going on there, Steve.
Yeah, it's a little bit late from Goretzka, but he's got every right to go for it. I think they're just trying to calm the Bayern Munich players down, but they're not going to calm them down.
Not in this atmosphere.
They're really up for this. We wonder what the atmosphere would be like. We wonder what the temperament would be like from the players. This has been a great start to the game. Well,
I've been here a number of times, and when they get in the swing here, that's excellent from Bernardo Silva, but then João Cancelo takes him out as Bernardo Silva had got away from Sané. A foul, dived in, Cancelo took out his former teammate, and it's a yellow card for the Bayern Munich left back. maybe there was an air of inevitability that there would be a yellow card for Cancelo tonight, and it's come early in the 11th minute.
Oh, just magical feat from Bernardo Silva, dancing away from a couple of players, invites the foul from João Cancelo. He had to make it because he was away past Cancelo if he didn't take him down, but they're the moments of brilliance from Bernardo Silva
that they would miss if he were not to be at Manchester City next season. So I mentioned Inter Benfica. John Akers is monitoring the pictures from Milan tonight. What news?
This could be all over. Inter 1, Benfica 0, 3-0 on aggregate. Beautiful finish, left foot, edge of the area. Barella on 14. Could be a Milan derby in the semi-finals. Inter 1, Benfica 0, 3-0 on aggregate.
So that's 3-0 on aggregate. This is 3-0 on aggregate. I don't think there would be too many people at the start of the season who would have been predicting a Milan derby in the semi-final of the Champions League. And that's the other side of the draw. And Real Madrid are now waiting for the winners of this tie. After Real Madrid, Manchester City last season, and the agonies that there were for Manchester City in the Bernabeu in the second leg. In fact, they've been in 3 semi-finals in this competition before. 2 of them have been against Real Madrid, and City have lost them both. Akanji in the challenge on Cancelo. It's just a foul, even though you can hear the whistles and the reaction, but it is a foul for Bayern Munich.
Do you know what I like about this Manchester City team tonight, John? They're up for the fight. Bayern Munich are trying to out-muscle them, they're trying to be a little bit nasty in a way, and City are saying, absolutely fine, we're up for that. We'll go toe-to-toe with you. We're not going to back out of any challenges, and credit to them, they're standing up to them.
And incidentally, Akanji is the Manchester City player who's 1 yellow card away from a suspension for the first leg of the semi-final, if Manchester City get through. Here's Sommer with the ball inside his penalty area, in for Manuel Neuer, out with the broken leg that he suffered on his skiing holiday after the World Cup. Choupo-Moting to the right-hand side, Pavard plays it through Diaz, and Coleman just come together as the two of them set off to sprint for the ball. Coleman's gone down, jumped up on his feet, waving his arms. Referee Turpin just lets it go with the ball at the feet of Ederson.
He was offside anyway. He went too early. Actually, Diaz, just seeing it again on the monitor, he's clipped his heels. It's a really smart set foul from Diaz, because he just slows down as he gets towards Kingsley Coleman.
Said the former defender, as Akanji plays the ball back to Ederson. Yes, 5 Live final score tonight on the BBC Sport website and app, on the iPlayer as well. Just click on 5 Live final score and you can listen to our commentary here from Munich, alongside the graphics and the video printer and everything else. Here's Kimmich with the ball inside his centre circle. Dry at the moment on this dank evening here, just north of the Alps. Although we've not been able to see the Alps because it's been shrouded in greyness since we arrived. Here's Upamecano passing the ball back towards the long-haired, experienced Swiss international goalkeeper Sommer. Gives it to his right to Upamecano, still 0-0. And then Sommer out towards Cancelo, who heads it forward, but he's headed it straight to Rodri. And then De Bruyne, right-footed ball to Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side, up against Cancelo. This is a good contest, this. Bernardo Silva cuts onto his left foot, then back onto his right. In as well comes the challenge from Musiala, but he's round him as well. Bernardo Silva gives it to De Bruyne, shoots low across the penalty area, but Sommer, the goalkeeper, was able to go down and grasp the ball at the feet of Haaland.
Brilliant from Bernardo Silva, just dancing round 2 players, plays it into the middle, and De Bruyne a fraction off giving the ball to Gundogan, who almost put it past Sommer. But that's the best that we've seen from Manchester City coming forward.
Yeah, I hope this carries on. Bernardo Silva against Cancelo, that's going to be worth watching. Ake tries to get across, but the ball's played back in field towards Coleman. Now back out to Pavard. Pavard's ball across straight at Diaz, who was able to stab it away with his right foot. But Bayern come again. Kimmich to Pavard on the right-hand side. Coleman is there as well, and Coleman plays it back. Kimmich with a touch. Gundogan comes across, then back onto his left foot, Kimmich, but he's all right foot, and actually turns it back to Upamecano, who's behind him. Still 0-0 if you've just switched onto us tonight on 5 Live. This is the Champions League, but we're keeping it across all of the football action tonight, and indeed it is Watford 1, Cardiff City 1, and Keon Etete has scored the equaliser for Cardiff City. So Watford 1, Cardiff 1, and the ball is back with the Bayern Munich goalkeeper Jan Sommer, who hits a long right-footed pass out towards the right-hand side. Infield towards Kimmich. Bounces to Rodri. Rodri over here to the right-hand side to Bernardo Silva, who actually moves back infield towards the centre circle, and then Rodri to Diaz, and Diaz will cross the halfway line now, and Diaz continues to bring the ball forward, but as he does so he overruns it, but Haaland goes in, bounces away though for Bayern Munich, and Diaz is out of position. Stones now in a chase with Sané into the box, shoots across the face of goal and wide of the foot of the post. Big chance not taken by Leroy Sané against his former club.
Well, it was Manchester City's own downfall. Diaz steps out, he loses the ball, and the light at the back, and Musiala makes the most of it. It's a magnificent ball. He slides it in between John Stones and the fullback, gets in behind, and I'm thinking this is just going to be dinked into the far corner. Hands on heads everywhere around the stadium. He should score. Bayern Munich should be a goal ahead,
but he didn't, and it's still Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 0. Now to Middlesbrough and Charlie Slater.
20 minutes gone here. Borough 0, Hull 0. Both sides could have scored. Borough's Hayden Hackney smacked the post, and then Hull went up the other end, and Pelkas missed from close range. Still 0-0.
De Bruyne carrying the ball forward into the heart of the Bayern Munich half. Plays the ball to the edge of the area, but it's deflected away, and Bayern Munich are able to play it away. Quite a night this. You wouldn't necessarily know that one of these teams has got a 3-0 aggregate lead. It feels as though it's absolutely alive here.
It certainly does. It's just brilliant football from both teams so far.
Cardiff now 2-1 up on Watford, 2 goals in a short space of time. Cedric Kipre with the second, so Watford 1, Cardiff City 2. Bayern Munich with Musiala, tried to get away from Rodri, he thought he was fouled, and then it's played forward by De Bruyne for Haaland, and you know what that could mean, but Upamecano comes across and nudges over Haaland on the edge of the box, and the referee pulls out a red card. Upamecano is sent off. Oh, but the offside flag is up. The offside flag's gone up, and he's got away with it. Bayern have got away with it.
Yeah, straight away I thought that Haaland was offside. I thought it would be an interesting goal. I thought it might have gone to VAR if anything, but the assistant referee stepped in straight away, and now it will go to VAR to make sure that the decision's right. But Upamecano again looks very, very uncomfortable.
He did not like that, Upamecano, when he was one-on-one with De Bruyne, and now it's all about seeing if VAR will prove that it was offside, and it is. The referee has indicated that the assistant was right. It was very close, just seeing it now. But red card is expunged.
John, if I was a Manchester City staff member now, if I was Thomas Tuchel.
Oh, yellow card for Thomas Tuchel. He said something out of turn to presume the assistant or the fourth official. Clement Turpin's heard about it. He's already been warned. Yellow card for the Bayern Munich coach.
Just going back to that incident though, if I was Pep Guardiola, I'd be looking at an incident and saying, get Haaland running behind. Upamecano was 10 yards deeper than De Ligt. That can't happen as a centre-half partnership.
But at the same time, you know, you say that's what Manchester City must do. What Bayern Munich must not do is end up with Upamecano one-on-one with Erling Haaland. So here's De Ligt at the back, who turns across, thought about playing it back to Sommer, but turns and passes the ball forward to Coleman, and Coleman's taking on Ake, and Coleman now, Ake goes to ground and puts in the challenge, and the free kick is given, and then there's a little bit of a reaction there as well, as the ball rolled away, and it's a free kick to Bayern Munich out on the right-hand side. Ake adjudged to have got maybe the ball, but also the man. So free kick to come for Bayern Munich, but there's been a goal at Blackburn. Lee Blakeman.
Blackburn 1, Coventry 0, diving header 10 yards out from Sam Gallagher. Big goal in the race for the playoffs. Blackburn 1, Coventry 0.
Also Swansea now 2-0 up on Preston. Joe Allen and Brighton's women are 2-1 up on Everton now. A goal back for Everton in the Women's Super League. So a free kick to Bayern Munich out on the right-hand side. Set piece opportunity. Two-man wall put up, so the ball will be played in from an angle. Sané is there, Kimmich is there, and 3, 4, 5, 6 Bayern Munich players between the penalty spot and the edge of the area. Upamecano goes for a little run round the back, then checks, and it comes from Sané, and Ederson had to be sharp there. He went for goal, and Ederson saw it, was able to go down to his left and push it round the foot of the post.
Really, really good goalkeeping from Ederson, because I just thought this was going to be swung into the middle. He almost catches Ederson out, strong left arm, pushes it round the post, pushes it away for a corner.
Corner coming into the near post, that's headed away, and safely away out for a throw-in on the far side. Might have been going wide, might have been the shot, the free kick from Sané, but he couldn't risk it.
No, he started the game really well. He should have scored a goal already, but I think Manchester City have a little bit of a dilemma down the left-hand side. Kingsley Coleman's got the pace in behind Ake. Ake's perhaps not getting the protection that he needs from Jack Grealish. He has to speak to Jack Grealish and get him across to stop that ball being played in behind.
So still 0-0, Bayern 0, Manchester City 0, 5 Live, BBC Sounds, Radio Manchester, De Ligt, long right-footed ball from him, Akanji comes across, heads it down, Stones got to that, hooked it forward, then Gundogan nods it across the halfway line, where Cancelo will find Musiala, and Musiala, here's Coleman, who's appeared on the left-hand side now, right-footed ball in, onto the head of John Stones, who heads it away, and then Goretzka with a shot that hits Gundogan, and deflects up in the air and drops, was dropping under the crossbar, and Ederson watched it into his gloves very carefully, and was able to pat it down, and has got it in his hands. So Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 0. Tomorrow night, more atmospheric European football from a continental venue. We will have commentary live from inside the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan in Seville on Manchester United's second leg against Sevilla. News as well of West Ham against Ghent in the Europa Conference League. Could be the most competitive night of the week of our European commentaries, but we'll see. This could be interesting yet if Bayern are able to get their noses in front, and Leroy Sané had a glorious opportunity to do that with that chance he had when he was put through.
He really should have made the most of it. Just tried to find the far right-hand corner. Maybe he should have dinked Ederson. I'm saying it like I've scored them goals myself, John, but I haven't.
Here is Musiala, lovely ball with the outside of his boot to Coleman. Coleman comes inside Stones, plays it square, there's a slip there, Sané's onto the ball, and then Goretzka, right foot, hit it high over the top of the crossbar from the edge of the area, right underneath it, and he very nearly cleared the net, actually, which is behind the goal, in front of the supporters, which must be probably 25, 30 feet high.
Does no one want to shoot? I cannot believe that Bayern Munich are trying to walk the ball in. Brilliant from Coleman again. He's been so dangerous tonight. And it was nearly a costly slip from Ake in the left-back position that allowed Sané to get on the ball. And I'm thinking, pull the trigger, hit it.
De Bruyne is challenged on the halfway line, but was able to get a touch on it. Bernardo Silva then crossfield pass, but Pavard comes forward and heads that away, and then Rodri nods it back to Ake on the halfway line. Yeah, he's been the danger man, Coleman, hasn't he, on the right-hand side. Watford 1, Cardiff City 3 now, as Manchester City break forward with Bernardo Silva, who's still on the left. And then a shot from the left-hand side from Grealish, which is deflected across the edge of the penalty area, cleared up in the air by Coleman, who's stayed, incidentally, on the left-hand side, with Sané on the right for the time being. And then Manchester City back in possession again. Kaba has scored that third goal for Cardiff. They've scored 3 times in 10 minutes, still in trouble at the bottom end of the championship, but 3-1 Cardiff City lead at Watford. That's one of the 7:45 kickoffs. This is an 8 o'clock start. Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 0. And now Kevin De Bruyne on the right hand side. Up it goes towards the blonde bobbing head of Erling Haaland, with 47 goals to his name, the Champions League top scorer this season as well, with the 11 in this competition. John Stones now trying to find a way through on the right hand side. Nice footwork, took it on, but in the end the ball bounced out of play off him as he slipped, as he was challenging it, and it's out of play for a throw into Bayern, level with the edge of their own penalty area, and then out again off De Bruyne for a throw down there. Still 0-0. You can hear the rhythm beating out around the stadium. And I think we just saw there the incident involving Upamecano and De Bruyne, which indicated just how offside Haaland was. Bernardo Silva, he's up to his tricks again, and he plays the ball into the near post where it's cleared away by De Ligt. Beat 2 Bayern men down there, and then on the stretch can't keep the ball in play. But he's gone through the whole array of his brilliant talents already tonight, Bernardo Silva.
Cancelo's having a really tough night against his former teammate. Bernardo Silva's nutmegged him about 3 times already, but the speed in which he moves, the low centre of gravity, must be so hard to defend against.
The way Bernardo Silva's playing against Cancelo, it's almost as if Cancelo's always sat in his favourite seat in the dressing room when they were teammates together. Bernardo Silva coming in, he's sitting there again, he's in my seat again, and now he's got the chance to lead him a merry dance, which he is doing. De Bruyne forward to the right hand side, Bernardo Silva into De Bruyne just outside the box, right for the ball, right across the penalty area to Grealish, who gets the ball under control, then back to Ake, and Ake now shoots from an angle right across the face of goal, still comfortably ahead of Haaland, and all the way through for a goal kick. Some plastic cups were thrown down as well from up there in maybe the second tier onto the pitch, so we had a little delay while 1 or 2 people came on and cleared them away. And we're here again, the noise ratcheting up. Swansea now 3-0 up on Preston. Harry Darling with Swansea's latest goal just before half-time, so 3-0 Swansea lead. Ball out of play for a throw-in on the far side for Bayern Munich. Still waiting for the opening goal of this second leg. Upamecano saw Haaland coming, so quickly turned and passed it back to Sommer. A little bit of indecision from him. Pulled the ball onto his left foot and cleared it. John Stones comes forward, heads it down. Rodri, and then Grealish. For the most part, incidentally, Stones has been in central defence. De Bruyne now had to stretch for that, but Cancelo was able to get a touch, and Bayern Munich have it again, halfway inside their own half. Upamecano. Again, when he's in possession, Erling Haaland suddenly appears on the scene. So Upamecano going back to the goalkeeper, De Ligt, and across to Upamecano, who takes it out towards the right-hand side, and then a low pass forward to Choupo-Moting, who's been out for the last 3 matches with a knee injury. Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, his 17 goals this season at the age of 34, have got him a new contract. Bayern have given him another contract for next season as well. Choupo-Moting. De Ligt with a pass to Pavard, who heads it forward. Choupo-Moting's onto this. Pavard continues his run down the right, but couldn't find the ball in field. It was deflected, however, it bounces for the edge of the box for Musiala, who was eased into by Rodri. He went tumbling on the edge of the box, but the ball had already gone through to goalkeeper Ederson. And again, Bayern, Thomas Tuchel, I see, leading the protests down there, palms apart. The assistant's just in front of him. He's already been yellow carded, Thomas Tuchel. What do you think?
Oh, he's ever so slightly late, Rodri. I think it could have been a foul, but in real time I thought it was just a coming together between the 2 players. Lovely feet from Cancelo in midfield now.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. And then to the right, and Pavard's ball into the edge of the area. Rodri got underneath it, running back, was able to head it away as he did so, twisting his body. And then Bayern have it again on the halfway line, still 0-0. Half an hour played, Stephen Warnock.
John, I get the sense with Thomas Tuchel, it's almost like that Simeone effect. He's almost been the orchestra, sort of the what's the right word for
conductor.
it? The conductor, sorry, yeah, of the orchestra.
Here's Pavard down the right, his cross to the near post, but Rodri was back in there, and it was headed away behind. Did well, sensed the danger, Rodri. It's a corner though to Bayern from the right hand side. And now Pavard joining in on that right flank, so they switched Coman and Sané, and that's given Pavard the licence to come forward more and more. And a corner from the far side, which will be an in-swinger. And here it is, into the near post, and it's Choupo-Moting who was underneath it, trying to twist, trying to get a glance on it, but got under it and headed it up and over the near post. And it is a goal kick to the visitors. And Ederson has just gone down on one knee, and he's pulled a glove off, and whether it's a finger problem that he's got.
I think he was wiping his eye, John. I think he was cleaning his eye to start with.
Maybe contact lens issue? Well, he's put the glove back on now, and I noticed one or two things were thrown as well from behind the goal there when he went down. Clearly the Bayern Munich supporters inside the stadium here feel that the Manchester City goalkeeper swinging the lead there, but the referee was satisfied that there wasn't anything suspicious, and it's played forward for Manchester City. Kimmich dives in on that, and Bayern Munich have got the ball back on the halfway line. Played well, Bayern. Manchester City dominated them last week, but this is more like the true Bayern Munich, the 6 times European champions, the most successful club in German football. The champions, they are top of the Bundesliga. They drew last weekend, but so did Borussia Dortmund, so it's still a 2-point gap that that Bayern Munich have got as they go for an 11th consecutive league title. Cancelo and Goretzka. Musiala here over on the left-hand side. Musiala back in field towards Cancelo. Kevin De Bruyne puts him under pressure, and Cancelo finds the pass to Upamecano. Low and forward, bounces up to Choupo-Moting, 10 yards inside Manchester City territory. Then Grealish tries to get there ahead of Pavard, but Bayern Munich have still got it back. This pace continues. Still we wait for the opening goal tonight. Rodri's in there as it bounces away from Musiala. Ake, his pass forward, finds Gundogan, the German international, and now Jack Grealish on the left-hand side. Jack Grealish starts off on a run, he's away from Kimmich, but then under pressure, as the challenge came in, he rather hit that right across the penalty area and through for a goal kick.
Yeah, but that was better from Jack Grealish because he's took the pressure off his team. Everything at the moment from Manchester City is just playing a little bit safe, going backwards. Sometimes you've got to take the player on to open something up, to create an opportunity. That was better from Grealish. Yeah,
he's been quiet in the early stages. Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 0, but now very much a regular starter for Manchester City. Jack Grealish having started 17 of the last 19 in all competitions. So 0-0 here in Munich. What's the latest in Blackburn? Lee Blakeman.
Half-time, Blackburn 1, Coventry 0. Sam Gallagher's diving header the difference. Brayton Diaz has also gone close for the home team. Rankin Costello 2. Coventry without a single effort on target. Blackburn 1, Coventry 0.
Yeah, so half-time in the 7:45 kickoffs now. QPR Norwich next. Sohail Sahi.
QPR leading at the break by a goal to nil. Lyndon Dykes with a cool finish after a superb ball flighted onto his chest by Ilias Chair. The home support are really into this, John, and it's paying off so far. Half-time, QPR 1, Norwich 0.
Yeah, just the one win so far under Gareth Ainsworth. I'll tell you as well when the other 7:45s are at half-time, but Manchester City with the ball inside the Bayern Munich half, out to the left-hand side, it goes. Jack Grealish is there, plays it back to Ake. It is Swansea 3, Preston 0, and Watford 1, Cardiff 3 at the break in those 2 championship matches. 0-0. Sevilla, Manchester United tomorrow night. But now Coleman away from Rodri, and then Musiala takes it through. An attempted flick on the edge of the box from Sané, but that didn't work. He tried to back heel it. It might have been better just to simply take it on and try and get into the penalty area. Leroy Sané just broke down with that attempted flick, and so Manchester City, and there's a space here for De Bruyne, and that can spell danger. Gives it to Rodri. Rodri sweeps a right-footed pass out to the left-hand side. Grealish gets it down, he's running at Pavard, then finds Gundogan, edge of the area, right-footed ball across, Sommer gets down and makes the save and pushes it away and wide of goal. Erling Haaland was in there, and there were shouts, I see,
Johnny's
for a handball. Yes, Haaland appealed for handball there, and that has been given as a penalty. Yellow card for Upamecano, and the referee has seen, I'm sure, a handball. The shot from Gundogan was deflected. Clearly it's an arm that was outstretched. The referee's had clear sight. VAR will have a look at this, but they're claiming, the Bayern players, I can see them putting their arms across their body, saying that Upamecano's arms were not out from his body. But we're seeing it now, and Upamecano goes in for the challenge with his arms behind his back, but as Gundogan shoots, one of his arms comes away and is at right angles away from his body. The referee's seen it, he's given it as a penalty.
I'm not so sure that's a penalty. I don't see that as a penalty at all. If that's the way the game's going, it is absolutely shocking. That is really poor, but he'd give it, John.
So we're about to have a penalty here for Manchester City, and Erling Haaland is standing over the ball with a chance from 12 yards to score his 8th penalty of the season. His 8th penalty for Manchester City. And some of the Bayern Munich players, a couple of them, just as we were set for the penalty, there's a further delay, and referee Turpin is now walking across to Sommer on the goal line, the goalkeeper, and is telling him what he needs to do. And those Bayern Munich players, Goretzka and Kimmich, have now moved away. And here we are. Well, this is just what this crowd, these thousands and thousands of people here inside the Allianz Arena, did not want. Erling Haaland from 12 yards, and back he goes to the edge of the box. The referee is not happy again with things are being thrown from the stands behind the goal. So Goretzka has actually run forward and picked up whatever it was and has thrown it away. And Haaland, the focus is there. He's not going to be put off by anything. Scored a penalty against Leicester at the weekend. Dispatched that into the bottom right corner. And this one he's put over the top. He's missed it. Haaland misses the penalty. And Thomas Tuchel has walked towards the 4th official and said something down there on the side of the pitch. And he's turned again. The Bayern Munich coach has walked again towards the 4th official and is saying something. They feel that that should not have been given as a penalty. And for the very first time, Haaland has missed the penalty for Manchester City. What about that? Still 0-0.
Well, complete shock. They all played the part, the Bayern Munich players, and now they're on the break.
Coleman to the edge of the area. Coleman looking to play it square. Back it goes to Kimmich though, middle of the half. Kimmich square to De Ligt. De Ligt then moves it on forward. And now to the left-hand side. Joao Cancelo is there. What a twist it would be if Bayern were able to score the opening goal here. Cancelo though is tackled by Bernardo Silva. Well done him. Long ball played forward by De Bruyne. It's Haaland against Upamecano, but Upamecano is able to win the duel this time and come out with the ball and pass it back to his goalkeeper.
What a game of football this is, John. I mean, the tie would have been dead, it would have been over, but it's just bred life into this Bayern Munich crowd, this team as well.
Bayern with the ball in front of the penalty area. Manchester City have just missed a penalty. Brighton have stretched their lead to 3-1 against Everton in the Women's Super League. Elizabeth Turland has scored again. Here now is Leroy Sané on the edge of the penalty area. Sané angles it back. Kimmich, right foot shot, but he's blazed that over the top from 22 yards out. And we have a chance for a breather and to hear more news on the Inter-Benfica tie, which is being monitored by John Akers.
Benfica have equalised into 1, Benfica 1. It's a lovely header from Ausnes in open play. Still got it all to do though. They trail 3-1 on aggregate. They need 2 more. We've got 3 minutes to half time. Into 1, Benfica 1.
Manchester City still waiting to take the goal kick. Thomas Tuchel is treading a very fine line. He's already been yellow carded. Ederson now beats Coleman inside the penalty area. That was classic Ederson coolness. Great touch from him. Not sure what Manchester City supporters way up to our left will have thought of that, but there again they're used to seeing it from Ederson. Still 0-0 here, so Manchester City still with a 3-0 lead on aggregate. This is 5 Live and Radio Manchester from the BBC, on BBC Sounds as well. Ake bringing the ball down the left-hand side. Grealish passing it forward to Gundogan. Gundogan in the full-back position, back to De Bruyne on the edge of the box. First-time touch. Grealish, packed penalty area. Grealish on his right foot, trying to find a position. Back to De Bruyne outside the box. Then Ake works it back to De Bruyne again. De Bruyne, a little ball into the edge of the area, but Goretzka was there, and Goretzka and Bayern Munich should clear. So to Middlesbrough and Charlie Slater.
Middlesbrough 0, Hull 1, 43 minutes on the clock. It's Alias Sayed-Manesh from a corner with a wonderful glancing header into the far corner of the net, and Hull lead here at the Riverside.
Yes, Hull in decent form, 5 matches unbeaten, but that's a blow for Middlesbrough. Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 0, and we've got 5 minutes to go to half time. What a game, absolutely breathless. Big chance for Sané early on, wasn't able to take it. There was that moment when Upamecano thought he'd been shown a red card, but Haaland was offside before Upamecano fouled him. And then the big moment in the second half, the penalty award, which you felt was very harsh on Upamecano for handball. Certainly Thomas Tuchel agrees with you. But Haaland hitting it high over the crossbar from the penalty spot.
Well, that was the biggest shock out of the whole thing, wasn't it? Was that Haaland, you thought, would be the calmest man in the stadium. It's what he thrives on, is the pressure. The penalty was poor, blazed over the crossbar.
So still 0-0, and a real collector's item there, a blemish on Haaland's season. But Gundogan has got the ball 25 yards out, but then in comes Upamecano to tackle him, challenge him, and come away with the ball. And Bayern can't keep it in. Sané with a misplaced pass, and it's a throw-in to Manchester City halfway inside Bayern territory. Sané has continued to play on the left-hand side, rather they've now switched back to how they were at the start of the match, so Coman over on the right. And for the most part, Stephen, John Stones is playing as a central defender, as Diaz just has to be careful there again, just almost lost his footing, passed it back to Ederson, who plays it out. And now here is Diaz again. Diaz forward to Haaland, who's come deep. That wasn't a great pass to Stones, and in fact Musiala wins it back, and now Coman through to Sané back onto his right foot. Oh, wonderful, round Rodri, Coman with a shot, and Ederson's able to go down to his right and palm it away. I thought for a moment there he'd gone down too early, but he was still able to get his hands up to the ball and push it away.
Before the game we talked about how would you combat this Manchester City formation. They're pinching the ball off John Stones. It was a poor ball from Haaland, but the speed in which they're breaking, Musiala is playing on the shoulder of John Stones, and he's causing so many problems.
Ederson with the save, so it is still 0-0. 3 minutes to go to half-time. The action here has been almost non-stop. Sommer out to the right-hand side. I mean, this crowd has played its part here as well. What an atmosphere. What a sporting theatre this is that we're sitting in. As Upamecano brings it up towards the halfway line again. Now Choupo-Moting, then forward from Goretzka, but Jack Grealish will get there first in the left-back position to pass it back to goalkeeper Ederson, who clears from the ground towards the halfway line. So it is going to be Manchester City against Real Madrid with this score line, but if Bayern Munich were to get a goal here in this atmosphere on this sort of night, you know, it would be in the balance to an extent. Here's Sané, left foot shot, low and wide by a yard. They're saying it took a flick somewhere, but referee Turpin doesn't agree. It's a goal kick to Manchester City. Stephen Warnock.
Look dangerous, both wingers for Bayern Munich, don't they? They're drifting off the line, they're coming inside, getting in dangerous positions. Leroy Sané with the shot this time, just drifts past the post. Ederson's doing all he can to slow this game down, and he's got every right to do it.
Well, not sure the Bavarians would agree with
I'll
that.
have to whisper that next time.
Yes, I would do. And he's still not taking it. And listen to them now. And it is going to be a yellow card. Yep, he's taken too long. The referee's pulled his yellow card out of his pocket, and Ederson is booked. Don't know whether that will settle down Thomas Tuchel at all. No, it doesn't. He walks away with his arms crossed. Terrible body language. John, shakes his head.
When you were talking and you were telling about Tuchel, something else happened on the pitch, and you were commentating on that. I kept an eye on the fourth official, and he basically said to Thomas Tuchel, "One more and you're done." He pointed to the tunnel as if to say, "That's it, last warning."
Well, it's only his 6th match in charge since he took over from Julian Nagelsmann. Had a great win in his first match, 4-2 against second place Borussia Dortmund here, but since then it's been rather disjointed. They were knocked out of the German Cup here, lost here to Freiburg in the quarter-finals, scored just 3 goals in their last 4 matches, so they've won twice in his 5 matches in charge. But I think this is a template, isn't it, for what Thomas Tuchel will want from his Bayern Munich team.
Absolutely, and he'll demand that every single game from them. It's very difficult because the standard of the Bundesliga compared to the Champions League, you can't wander into a Champions League game and expect to be at your brilliant best every single time.
2 minutes of added time, they don't like that either, as Coman is tripped by Bernardo Silva on the halfway line. Arms outstretched, there's a little hug there as well. Thomas Tuchel waves his arms around again, and again he's on to the fourth official. He will not be on the side of the pitch at the end of the match. There, I'm going to make that as a prediction. De Ligt with the ball in front of his penalty area. And now lots and lots of Bavarians are making their way back up to the enticing stands behind us, where you get your beer and you get your sausages, and you can probably hear them just passing by with their feet on the steps next to us as Coleman turns brilliantly and away from Rodri, and now over the halfway line, and Coleman through the middle, and there's space for Musiala, and Musiala into the area, nearly slips, pulls it back, Choupo-Moting with a flick, that's blocked, Coleman's shot, that's blocked, bounces out, and Gundogan's able to clear it on the edge of the area.
Oh, Musiala slips at the wrong time, loses his foot in, adjusts, plays it into Choupo-Moting, and he just has to set two Bayern Munich players.
Oh, now there's trouble.
Oh, yeah,
Kimmich and Gundogan, they've fallen out, and there's pushing and shoving. Goretzka, Upamecano's got involved as well, but Gundogan did not like that from Joshua Kimmich, and they are the two captains here, and the referee has got a yellow card out, but that was quite a reaction from Ilkay Gundogan, and I would say quite uncharacteristic from him as well. And yellow cards for both, for Kimmich and for Gundogan, the two captains.
We're just getting a picture of it on our screens. Gundogan goes to ground, and then the ball is on his arm, under his body. Gundogan, and Kimmich kicks it from underneath him. Gundogan reacts to it, he's furious about it because he feels like he's kicked through Gundogan. And it has all settled down now, but this just adds to the atmosphere and the intensity of the game.
I think he perhaps feels that he tried to stand on his hand. His hand was on the ground,
yeah.
And Kimmich put his foot down. German internationals together. He was talking yesterday, Gundogan, when he was speaking to us in the stadium about, great, look, my colleagues in the German national team who I'll be playing against tomorrow, they're all great people. And there's the half-time whistle. What a half that is. For a half that's provided no goals, and I'm just going to keep an eye on Thomas Tuchel down there, who has got himself away, actually, that the floor opens up here in the stadium, and it's almost like Batman. It raises up, and suddenly there it is, a chasm for everyone to walk in and down the steps, and all they go down there and out of sight. So what a half, 0-0. Haaland misses a penalty, chances at both ends, temper's running high,
and all the players disappear into the Batcave.
They do, and they'll be out for the second half, and we'll see what they serve up. But Bayern Munich could easily have been in front. Manchester City should have been in front. It's all happening. Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 0.
We've kind of summed it up there, John, but that's what I was going to say to Stephen first of all, is that Manchester City will be disappointed that they're not a goal up, but equally they'll be relieved that they're not 1 or 2 down.
Yeah, this has been a great game of football. Leroy Sané should do better in the first half when he goes through 1v1. I think there's an opportunity towards the end of the half there where Choupo-Moting should set someone. It's a simple finish to put it into an empty net. But when you get a penalty, you expect Haaland to score, and Manchester City should have scored from that opportunity.
Nader Manua with us as well. What have you made of that first 45?
I think it's a better showing from Bayern, obviously, but they still have shown 1 or 2 weaknesses within that. And I think for Bayern, they've done well with John Stones going into midfield, as Stephen was saying. They're so aggressive with him to the point where, like I said before the show, he's not a midfielder. He can do it well, but he's not a specialist, and I think they've kind of treated him that way as such. And I think it's affected the way City have built out to a certain extent. But I think it's going to be a very, very exciting second half, not least of all because, Bayern have to go for it. But in going for it, you're seeing Kevin De Bruyne drifting into little spaces and the like. And I think they're going to be both teams scoring, so as a consequence, I think the same side will be going through into the next round.
On the one hand, Stephen, you sense that Bayern need the passion and the sort of helter-skelter nature of it to get themselves going, but then at the same time, they might be better off if they just calm down slightly.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, but it's you want to hear the atmosphere in here. The crowd are just sensing everything when they go after it, but there has to be that moment of calmness. You have to be able to set yourself when you get in the final third and be able to compose yourself, and I think that's probably what Thomas Tuchel will say. However, you reflect what your manager does and you're looking at the touchline. He is everywhere. He is running up and down that touchline, and he is orchestrating this crowd to get them riled up as well.
Do you agree with John? He'll do well to see out the 90.
I whispered it in John's ear. I said he won't last this game. There's no chance. Honestly, the fourth official will be fed up with him. He is just continuous. If you could have a camera on him, it would be fascinating.
Do you think he'll last the 90, Naden?
No, but I think it'll be something that will get the crowd very much on side, and maybe that's what they need. Again, it's the hard luck story. Look what they're doing to us. It's a disgrace. So I don't think he'll last the 90, but I think he'll still have an effect, yeah.
Okay, Naden, thank you very much. Into 1, Benfica 1 at half-time. We'll get details of that game shortly, but the start of the second half has not begun well for QPR. Sahel.
Yeah, Norwich have equalised, Mark. It's QPR 1, Norwich 1. A quick start to the second half. It was a lovely effort from Gabriel Sara. He drilled his shot. Really well saved by Seny Dieng. He pushed it out, but Adam Ida, who's come on as a second half substitute, he was first to pounce and he poked it home from 3 yards out. Queen's Park Rangers 1, Norwich 1.
Middlesbrough are behind at the break. Charlie Slater.
They are. Middlesbrough 0, Hull 1. Borough will probably feel a little bit hard done by to go in behind at the break. Hackney's at the post for them. Force has gone close. Archer has as well. But to be fair, Hull have played some lovely stuff of their own. They got their goal 4 minutes before the break from Aliyar Sayed-Manesh's glancing header from a corner. And as it stands, Borough's tight grip on that playoff place, loosening just a touch. Half-time, Borough 0, Hull 1.
Reading Luton goalless at the break. Chris Wise.
And I'll start with the positives for Reading. It is 0-0, just like it was against Burnley at the weekend. They had a big chance for Andy Carroll 2 minutes in, which went over the crossbar. But beyond that, lanes and lanes of Luton traffic towards Reading's box. They've had big chances through Corley Woodrow. Alfie Doherty's hit the base of the post as well. No way through for Luton, though, on a night when they could secure their playoff place. 0-0.
Let's go to the 7:45. So QPR 1, Norwich 1, as we've just heard. That's into the second half. Swansea lead Preston by 3-1, and Cardiff are 3-1 up at Watford. How is this at Ewood Park? Lee Blakeman.
It's still Blackburn 1, Coventry 0, but it should be 1-1. Gustavo Hamer has just ran from the halfway line, unchallenged, got to the edge of the area, free shot, and fired over the bar into the away end. Still Blackburn 1, Coventry 0.
In the Women's Super League, they're into the 9th minute of stoppage time at Brighton. They lead Everton by 3-2. And what have they got, Sandy? About 10 minutes left with you?
Yeah, exactly. So you're very good with your timings, Mark. Yeah, 10 minutes to go here. Still Manchester United 1, Arsenal 0. Currently Manuela Zinsberger, the Arsenal goalkeeper, is down. Leah Williamson went off injured as well. Not very much happening in the second half, but as it stands, the leaders are winning 1-0. Manchester United 1, Arsenal 0.
So goalless between Bayern and Manchester City. It's all square in the other Champions League quarter-final this evening, at least as far as the actual game tonight is concerned. John Akers.
Yeah, it's 3-1 Inter on aggregate, 1-1 on the night. Looked all over and when Inter got one with Barella. But Benfica ahead.
Oh, appears to have lost John Akers there. We'll get him back if we can, but it's 1-1 at half-time. 3-1 to Inter on aggregate. In the Scottish Women's Premiership this evening, midway through the second half in all of these games, Dundee United 2, Aberdeen 3, Hearts 0, Celtic 3, Hibs 1, Partick Thistle 1, and Glasgow City 0, Rangers 1. 3 minutes to 9 o'clock. Let's get the latest BBC News.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
With the 5 Live News, I'm Jill Mackenzie. The government's insisting it is on track to halve inflation by the end of the year, despite today's figures, which show prices are 10.1% higher than they were a year ago. Rising food costs are being blamed for the persistently high rate, but supermarkets say prices should come down over the next few months. Corrie Hatzer lives in Halifax in West Yorkshire and says she's struggling to afford some things.
It's not nice opening the fridge and it being empty. It's not nice. Sometimes I skip a meal. And my children are at that age where they do notice this. A biscuit's a massive treat. It's going to sound awful, but a nice, decent shampoo. I know that I'm looking to have shampoo, but it's nice to have nice hair. It makes you feel good. It makes a difference.
Colin Beattie has resigned as SNP Treasurer after being arrested yesterday as part of a police investigation into the party's finances. Mr Beattie was released without charge, pending further inquiries. Counter-terrorism police have arrested a 17-year-old boy in Diffid in southwestern Wales in connection with right-wing terror offences. The teenager is suspected of distributing terrorist-related material and inciting racial hatred. Officers say there's no immediate threat to public safety. A council in Essex is asking the High Court to block Home Office plans to turn a disused airfield into an accommodation centre for asylum seekers. Braintree Council says putting 1,700 people in temporary blocks at Wethersfield Airfield is unlawful, but the government disagrees. Our correspondent is Dominic Casciani.
Braintree Council's lawyers say just because there's a shortage of accommodation nationally doesn't make it an emergency. This is something the Home Secretary has seen coming over a number of years. There has to be alternatives. There has to be consideration of local planning concerns. But that's now going to be for the judge to decide. If he decides in the Home Secretary's favour, that will be a big win for her and will have major implications for other plans.
And the Unite Union says security workers at Heathrow Airport will strike for another 8 days in May as part of their dispute about pay. Passport Office staff are also extending their strikes, walking out for 4 days at the start of next month.
6 Music.
Oof, banger, busting clouds left, right and centre. Start your day. You need a bit of audio sunshine? Don't worry, we have got you covered. The 6 Music Breakfast Show with Lauren Laverne. Putting the music together as we go, which is, for us, part of the fun. Music beyond the mainstream. You can really hear that beautiful analogue production. Some of our favourites and some brilliant selections courtesy of the 6 Music listeners. The 6 Music Breakfast Show with Lauren Laverne. Weekday mornings from 7:30. Listen on Sounds. 6 Music.
This is 5 Live, your football station.
The UEFA Champions League.
With Mark Chapman.
Bayern 0, Manchester City 0 at half-time. Inter 1, Benfica 1 in the other Champions League quarter-finals. At Inter are 3-1 up on aggregate. The final whistle has eventually gone in the Women's Super League between Brighton and Everton. And Brighton have won that by 3-2, so it lifts them off the bottom of the table. Leicester drop to the bottom. Still Manchester United 1, Arsenal 0 in the game at the top of the table, and there's about 5 minutes to go there. Let's go to the Crucible. Jamie Broughton.
And Karen Wilson now leads Ryan Day by 9 frames to 5, so he needs one more frame to wrap up victory and take on John Higgins in the second round. He's back at the table again. He's on a break of 74, so he's cruising through to the second round. It's already been a memorable day for the Kettering star, as earlier in the match he made the 13th 147 maximal break in Crucible history. Meanwhile, on the other table, the 2005 champion Shaun Murphy has knocked in breaks of 131, 72 and 92, and is now 3-2 up against China's Xi Jiawei.
Snooker right now is on the iPlayer, on the BBC Sport website and app from 11:15 tonight. It will be on BBC Two. Let's switch to rugby league, because clubs throughout the pyramid have voted strongly in favour of adopting a grading system to determine their suitability to play in Super Leagues. That means promotion and relegation will disappear. Dave Woods, our rugby league correspondent, is with us. What is the grading system, and why have they gone down this route?
The grading system, it's been recommended by IMG. You'll well know that Rugby League as a sport invited IMG in. They've agreed a 12-year contract to work with Rugby League, and they've come up with a plan for the future of the game. And what they've come up with is a grading system which looks at clubs' competitiveness and success on the field. That is still going to be a major part of being in the Super League. You'll still have to be reasonably good on the field, but also clubs will be looked at into the facilities they have, the stadiums, the quality of the stadiums, the catchment area they have, whether they're capable of attracting big crowds, how close they are to other clubs, their engagement with fans, the marketing of the game, all kinds of different criteria. So relegation and promotion goes as we know it, but there will still be, they say, the capability of movement between the top flight and the other divisions. And this is in for 2025. This is not next year. All the clubs will get their grades next year, but there will be a case of this is where you are at the moment. The grades will be implemented in 2025. That's when this starts.
Is it? I mean, are some things weighted more heavily than others? I mean, I've also read, Dave, TV viewing figures will be taken into account, or social media followers will be taken into account. But they surely can't carry the same weight as the number of points you win in a league season, can they?
No. No. And the points is over 3 years. So when this is implemented, it's how well clubs have done over the previous 3 years. And that carries on into perpetuity, or until rugby league changes its mind again, which might happen. Because I mean, we've had a system like this previously, similar to this, with licensing in 2009, which you'll well remember, and that kind of phased out because the feeling was that it did become a bit of a closed shop Super League. What IMG is saying here, this is all data driven. So all those different criteria, the playing criteria, the success on the field will carry the heaviest weight. But there's a scoring system of 20 points. If you get 15 points, you're a grade A club, you're confirmed, you're guaranteed a place in Super League. If you get less than 15, between 15 and 10, I think it is, you're grade B, and then you're kind of judged alongside others. So, it doesn't take a great deal of insight to say there's probably 4 or 5 clubs at the moment that you predict would be grade A clubs. And then there's maybe a cluster of 8, maybe 10 clubs that could be grade B. And
look, a lot of clubs in all 3 divisions have voted for this, haven't they? I mean, we're not just talking about Super League clubs. Championship clubs in the league below have voted for, or the majority in each division have voted for this. How much have fans been consulted? Because there was one phrase you said near the start of your first answer about proximity to each other, and we have seen clubs try to be merged in the past, and I'm just wondering whether the fan bases of certain clubs will have alarm bells ringing this evening.
Well, maybe they will, but that again is not as heavily weighted as some of the other criteria. So, if you're a London Broncos, you might think that gives us a great chance to be in Super League. Well, it just gives you a couple of points. You need at least 15 to get grade A. So there's a lot into this, and IMG will tell you that they consulted fans, they consulted media, they consulted players, they consulted club owners before they came up with this proposal, and the proposal's been on the table now for some time. The vote today has gone through 32 in favour, 7 against, 3 abstentions was the voting today.
Dave, thank you very much. Dave Woods, our rugby league correspondent, just waiting for the teams out in Munich, goalless at the break. Manchester City don't have to do that much different, do they, Naden?
Yeah, I guess so, but they've ridden their luck a little bit. But this is what can happen when you're playing away in the Champions League. But I think they just need to be clinical, and if they get the chance to hit Bayern on the break, that goal that they could potentially score basically kills the whole tie. Kind of like we saw yesterday at Stamford Bridge. I thought Chelsea looked good until Madrid scored, and then before you know it was a procession. Like, City have the potential to do that, but like I say, they have to keep defending well and take the opportunity when it comes.
Okay, more from Naden later. I've just watched the Bayern team come out, and the camera, Stephen Warnock, focused on Upamecano, who just diverted his eyes to the heavens and gave out a big sigh as they wait for Manchester City to come out.
Yeah, he's going to have to perform better in the second half. He sits so deep, he's petrified of Haaland. But we know the qualities that he possesses, but he's obviously in a place at the moment where confidence is very, very low.
John Murray, with City coming out of the TARDIS, or whatever you described it as earlier, it's all yours.
Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 0. Bayern's players in the red, they were out early. They look as though they're raring to go. Manchester City in the yellowy shirts with the very dark grey stripes across the chest, horizontally, grey shorts, yellow socks. City will start the second half. Bayern Munich with Sommer in goal, Pavard, Upamecano, De Ligt and Cancelo, Kimmich, Goretzka and Musiala, Coleman, Sané and Choupo-Moting. And Manchester City, as they were in the first leg, Ederson, Akanji, Stones, Diaz and Ake, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, Gundogan, Grealish and Haaland. The second half begins. Manchester City with a 3-0 aggregate lead. Haaland, who missed a penalty in the first half, heads it forward, but Upamecano is able to play it back to Sommer, who clears. Still, we've got all of the Bayern Munich fans who are making their way down the steps, so just getting to my feet to see Akanji bringing it over the halfway line, and then back to Akanji again, who will pass it further back to John Stones, and then across to Ederson, who made an important save at the end of the first half, and then passes it out to Stones, who had Sané behind him, so first time pass out towards the far side. The man next to me looks at me as though the last thing he'd expect me to do would be commentate on the match as he makes his way to his seat. And then Manchester City with De Bruyne, passes it square towards Gundogan. Gundogan forward to Ake. Ake carries it further on. Grealish on the left-hand side, just a little mistouch from him. Grealish then takes on Pavard. Grealish turns and gives it back to Gundogan. Now Ake as Manchester City attack. Ball in from the left-hand side, flicks off the boots of Kimmich, and that carries it into the gloves of Sommer, the Bayern Munich goalkeeper. A goal at Reading. Chris Wise.
Big one at the start of the second half for struggling Reading, scored by Andy Carroll. Powerful header from a corner, 9th of the season for him. Reading 1, Luton 0.
Yes, with Noel Hunt in charge. Ball back with Sommer, who clears from the 6-yard box towards the halfway line. Up goes Akanji to win the header, then Rodri passes it calmly out towards the far side. Nothing calm about the atmosphere inside the arena tonight as it's played over the top for Bernardo Silva to chase onto in the full-back position. Bernardo Silva now taking on the challenge of Kimmich, which puts it behind for what is a corner, says referee Turpin. Stephen Warnock.
This has been such a more controlled start to the second half for Manchester City. Dominated possession early on. I know it's only been 3 minutes, but they've had more possession, it feels, in that period than they had in the first half, just taking the sting out of the game and trying to silence the atmosphere.
That's Stephen Warnock, Champions League player with Liverpool, England international. Welcome as well back to Radio Manchester listeners, joining us here in Munich, where it is 0-0 on 5 Live. Corner though, outswinger from De Bruyne to the near post. There's a player gone down in the area, Kimmich. The shouts from the crowds, and I think the referee has given that, yes he has, as a free kick to Bayern Munich for, I presume, a foul, a block, a push on Joshua Kimmich.
Yeah, just making sure that everyone saw it in the stadium. The crowd asked for the decision, the referee gave the decision. Now it's up to Bayern Munich to continue or to get themselves back into the rhythm that they had in the first half.
Excellent challenge centrally from Diaz. There were 2 Bayern Munich players up against him. That sent Manchester City off on another attack. But down in the full-back position, a back heel away from Pavard, and then a lovely ball from Goretzka into the path of Upamecano, and Upamecano's carrying it into the centre circle, but Akanji comes across and puts in a block tackle, and it bounces away, although possession back to Bayern Munich, still 0-0 on the night. And then this pace, this relentlessness continues. Musiala slipping it forward, Goretzka with a flick, and that flick has passed it straight to Grealish. 50,000 groans from Bayern fans. But then Grealish loses out. Musiala's able to take it on. In from the left-hand side, square from him. Pavard, 25 yards out. To the right it goes again. Coleman running at Ake. Coleman on his left foot, clips it in, comes off the back of Grealish's head, and that took it wide of goal by 7 or 8 yards. Ederson's sprinting to his left, couldn't keep it in, and it's a Bayern corner now at the other end.
Well, you just feel if Bayern Munich are to get a goal in this game, or to at least get something out of the game, they need to feed Kingsley Coman down the right-hand side, because he's been the outstanding player for them.
The way this match has gone, it would have been fascinating, I must say, to see what would have happened had Sané scored when he had that very early chance. Corner to Bayern to the near post, that's poor. Easily cleared away. Leroy Sané swung it in low to the near post, and De Bruyne said thank you very much and passed it out for a throw into Bayern halfway inside Manchester City territory. Spectators now coming down the steps with cardboard trays full of chips with tomato sauce and mayonnaise, and also cardboard cartons of popcorn and pretzels as well. They love a pretzel here. Upamecano, square to De Ligt on his right foot, long right-footed ball from him onto the head of Akanji, who heads it back to goalkeeper Ederson. De Ligt was playing that night when Tottenham turned around the semi-final, the Champions League semi-final against Ajax. I remember him scoring the first goal that night and thinking, well, that's this over. Here's Stones for Manchester City. Then back to Kevin De Bruyne, takes it on and then is nudged over by Goretzka. That is a free kick. Free kick on the right-hand side for Manchester City.
You feel like in the first 5 minutes Manchester City have been more positive. In the first half it felt like every ball that they received, it was to play safe, it was to be a little bit negative, a little bit sort of not wanting to open themselves up with the fear of Bayern Munich counter-attacking them, but now you feel that Pep Guardiola's got them in at half-time, and they needed the talk more than Bayern Munich did, that they're being a little bit more positive.
Great sound coming out of the stand, away over to our right, where all of the bottom tier are just bouncing up and down, the flags are waving, but at the other end, Manchester City with this free kick. Grealish runs over it, Kevin De Bruyne high towards the back post, it bounces on the far side of the penalty area, Akanji pulls away, and the Swiss international, in a very good acquisition for Manchester City, plays it back to Grealish, Britain's most expensive player, back to the halfway line, Ake, now Diaz, Musiala's herring around, and Gundogan plays it back to Diaz. Oh, it's a bit dicey, it is dicey, it's been won back by Sané, and now he gives it to Coleman on the left hand side. Coleman, right foot shot, but that's into the shins of the defender. Stones bounces out for Bayern, no. Square, Kimmich to Pavard on the right, and the French international back infield towards Kimmich. Kimmich 30 yards out, left footed ball over the top. Akanji gets up, he heads it away, only to Coleman though on the edge of the area. Pavard to the byline, clips it across to the back post. Stones doesn't clear it, missed his kick, still under pressure, but Stones was able to recover and put it out for a throw on the left.
Just overconfident there, Manchester City at the back, causing themselves their own problems, and Bayern nearly taking advantage of it. John Stones caught out of position, but because of the poor play from the centre-backs of Manchester City.
Going to go back to Reading in a moment. In fact, let's do that because the ball's all the way back with Sommer. So come in, Chris Wise.
Still Reading 1, Luton 0. Reading thought they scored a second. Andy Carroll thought he'd scored a second. He was off celebrating, but he used his hand, he punched it in, and worse still for Carroll, he was on a yellow card. He's received a second one, so he's been sent off, and it's still Reading 1, Luton 0.
And it is full time in the big match tonight in the Women's Super League. How's it finished, Sani Rudravajala?
Well, it wasn't pretty, but the league leaders have done it. Manchester United 1, Arsenal 0. Alessia Russo's 10th for the season. Cool side-foot finish was enough. That was deep into injury time in the first half because of a serious injury to England and Arsenal captain Leah Williams, and she's on crutches. Arsenal need to pick themselves up for a Champions League semi-final next. Finished off Man United 1, Arsenal 0.
Thanks, Sani. And they'll be mopping that up on Sports Extra right now. Goal back for Preston in the Championship as well. Swansea 3, Preston 2 is the latest score. The other latest in the Championship, Blackburn 1, Coventry 0, QPR 1, Norwich 1, Watford 1, Cardiff 3, Middlesbrough 0, Hull City 1, and Reading 1, Luton 0, as we heard from Chris. And now Pavard has been caught. It's a free kick to Bayern near the halfway line, and a yellow card for Nathan Ake, who fouled him and sent him rolling across the pitch. So free kick to Bayern, and there's a yellow card being shown as well to another member of Thomas Tuchel's staff who's sitting on the bench behind him. The referee's walked off the pitch and shown a yellow card to someone who's out of our sight underneath the roof of the dugout. So Tuchel and one of his coaches now in the referee's notebook.
Well, Nathan Ake is asking the question as well, did I get booked? I don't think he saw the booking himself. He was asking Jack Grealish, did I get booked? He has been booked, so now it's, we've said before, Coleman's getting the run of him down that right-hand side, so it's going to be a tough night for him.
I said Hull City were winning 1-0 at Middlesbrough. Charlie Slater?
They're not anymore. 10 gone in the second half. Borough have equalised. Good value for it as well. Hayden Hackney from across down the right, from about 8 yards out, finds the back of the net. Borough 1, Hull 1.
So 1-1, 0-0 here. So Manchester City still on course for a semi-final against Real Madrid, but Real Madrid with Bayern Munich with their tails up. Sané into the penalty area, to the edge of the box. Musiala was challenged. Gundogan was able to win the ball, but Bayern Munich win it back, and it's played over the top by Kimmich, but headed away by Stones, and then Haaland with a touch. That was a good touch to De Bruyne, and De Bruyne's pass forward does find Jack Grealish, hair flying. Grealish back into Haaland! First time shot straight at Sommer. He arrived on it, hit it left foot from a slight angle on the left side of the area, but straight into the goalkeeper's midriff.
Well, he wouldn't have heard the shout of time. He had so much time, Haaland, in the penalty box. It was a brilliant break from Manchester City. You just feel like he could have taken a touch and set himself. He also had De Bruyne alongside him, who was furious that he didn't play it inside to him for a simple tap-in.
He loves a first-time finish, though, doesn't he? 41 of his 47 goals this season have been with his first touch. But the first touch tonight from the penalty spot put it over the bar. It went over just left of the middle of the top of the crossbar, and when I saw the replays at half-time, I noticed here at that end, the popular end, they very often have several Bayern Munich fans who are hanging off a pole behind the goal, and it actually hit one of them and nearly knocked him over. Here's Upamecano passing it to Kimmich, but then Gundogan was able to step in, De Bruyne, and Manchester City have got it back inside their own half. Manchester City just over half an hour away from the place in the semi-finals again. Passed out from the back by Ederson. Ooh, stretch there from John Stones.
Brilliant tackle.
Had to get there against Goretzka, and that was at the very limit for Stones to get there and put in the tackle, but he did.
Oh, what a tackle it was as well.
Bayern though, coming again, rode on by this huge crowd. We're going to go back to Middlesbrough in a moment, but Kimmich out to Coleman on the right-hand side. Crowd rise to their feet as Coleman takes it on and goes past Grealish, takes it on into the box. Gundogan with a challenge. It's played right across the face of goal. Ederson got a touch on that, a slight touch. It could have taken it into his own net. It deflected it across the 6-yard box. Manchester City clear, and now De Bruyne to Haaland on the edge of the area. Upamecano slips over. Haaland's in to win it, and it's in. 1-0 Manchester City, and Haaland, he missed a penalty in the first half. He wasn't going to miss that. Upamecano slipped over, and that opened the way for Erling Haaland to score his 48th goal of the season, and surely clinch Manchester City's place in the semi-finals again. Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 1.
Well, it's game over, and it's clinical from Erling Haaland, and it's brilliant from him. But Manchester City, from one end to the other in a heartbeat. John Stones clears the ball to Kevin De Bruyne, to Haaland. He nods it down to De Bruyne, and how? I just do not understand. Bayern Munich leave themselves in a 2v1 situation. Haaland shifts the ball, Upamecano, his nightmare continues, and he just lashes it into the top corner, top right-hand corner. Outstanding from Haaland and De Bruyne.
And that penalty area is very heavy. And Upamecano, as he went in to put the challenge, he got his studs caught, slipped over, and then as soon as Haaland was round him, bearing down on Sommer, there was only going to be one outcome, and that outcome was a 15th goal in his last 7 appearances. And even by the standards of this extraordinary goal-scoring season, 48 now in all competitions, a Manchester City record, extending that record for the number of goals by any City player in one season in all competitions. It was an inevitability that it would end up in the back of the net, as it surely did. So 1-0, 4-0 on aggregate, and Manchester City now ever more confident that they will be in the last 4 of the Champions League. Happenings at Middlesbrough while all that's been going on. Charlie Slater.
Borough 3, Hull 1. Borough running right with 3 goals in 5 minutes. First, Cameron Archer gets his 3rd in 2 games. Then Chuba Akpom gets his 28th of the season. As it stands, Borough up to 3rd. Borough 3, Hull 1.
1-0 Manchester City here. And the atmosphere has been affected, but you can still hear the noise inside the ground. The Manchester City fans are way up in the top tier, the 3rd tier. Looking up there, I can see the glowing red lines of the roof above them as Grealish takes the ball on. Pavard puts in the challenge, goes down, caught him around about the knee, round about the thigh, maybe 2 feet outside the box, and that's going to be another yellow card. Pavard, the latest to be booked.
Well, it's better for Manchester City because now they're getting players faced up in 1v1 situations. In the first half, it just felt that every time a Manchester City player got the ball, there was a Bayern player forcing him backwards, wasn't letting him get on the half turn. They weren't letting him get faced up. This has been better for Manchester City in the second half.
So the goal came in the 58th minute. And Manchester City now with a free kick here. Kevin De Bruyne's over the ball. From an angle, it's in the full-back position, the right full-back position, round about halfway between the goal line and the corner of the box. John Stones just comes over and has a word with Kevin De Bruyne, who's standing with his hands on his hips. That's another assist as well, isn't it, De Bruyne and Haaland for that goal. So of his 48 goals, 11 of them have been assisted by Kevin De Bruyne now. And here he is, the great Belgian, standing to the left, comes up, right-footed ball, curls it in, headed away by Upamecano inside the 6-yard area, out to Grealish, square from him, Gundogan to the far side. There's been a collision there as well between Goretzka and Gundogan, the two of them. That was after the ball was played away, and they just collided with one another. I don't think there was anything nasty in that. And Haaland, though, is going across to the referee, towering over him and saying, "Why have you stopped play?" Which, you know, I think is a fair question when it wasn't a head injury, but I suppose the referee couldn't have been absolutely certain, so play will resume with a drop ball. So looks as though it is going to be, as expected, Manchester City against Real Madrid, and a Milan derby in the other side of the draw. John Akers is following that other quarter-final tonight.
Looks like it. Inter 2, Benfica 1, 4-1 on aggregate with 24 minutes plus added time remaining. Martinez, lovely team goal down the left, a tap in from a few yards out. It looks like we should have that all-Milan semi-final. Inter 2, Benfica 1.
So look forward to our coverage and commentary of the semi-finals next month, which will surely feature Manchester City. This weekend we've got commentary from the Premier League and the FA Cup as well. 5 Live, the place to listen to both FA Cup semi-finals, including, of course, Manchester City against Sheffield United on Saturday afternoon from 4:45 after the Leicester Wolves commentary. That's our choice of 3 o'clock Premier League commentary on 5 Live Sport this Saturday afternoon, the award-winning Saturday afternoon 5 Live Sport. Corner is taken short for Manchester City. De Bruyne plays it in. It's given back by Bernardo Silva. De Bruyne's ball into the box is cleared away. Thomas Tuchel is going to make a double change, and I'm just wondering if that's going to be Sadio Mane coming on. It is. He's going to make his return after being suspended at the weekend. So let's see what the reaction is like after his altercation, as it seems to be called, with Leroy Sané after the match in Manchester last week. Gundogan is bundled over by Goretzka, free kick, and here's the change. First of all, it's going to be coming onto the field for Bayern Munich.
Alphonso Davies for Cancelo.
Alphonso Davies, yeah, who's coming on, and then have a listen to this. And he comes and takes the place of Leroy Sané. Mane on for Sané, and it's all very friendly. A slap of the hands between the two of them, that's all. Only a slap of the hands this time. And on he comes onto the field. And you wouldn't have known anything from the reaction in the crowd to the announcement of his name.
No, I think everything's forgotten now, and rightly so. They've been warned, they've been told, sanctions have been put against them, and rightly so, but they've made up, and that's the end of that.
Yep, so 1-0 Manchester City, and Coleman carrying the ball forward. Now here's Kimmich, who's going to try a shot from distance, but Ederson's able to go across, just take a couple of steps to his left, hop into the air, and tap the ball down. So Sané is going to play over on the left-hand side with Choupo-Moting still through the middle. He's not really had a sniff, has he, Choupo-Moting, tonight?
No, his link-up play's been very good, and he's allowed the wingers to come inside or to get in 1v1 situations. He does occupy defenders extremely well, but he just had that chance before Haaland went to the other end and scored.
Ake has gone in the hamstring, I think. Nathan Ake, who's trying to cut out the ball in the left-back area. And he immediately pulled up, hand to the back of his hamstring, and he's gone down. And this is quite a setback here. I mean, they've had a remarkable clean bill of health, Manchester City, in recent times. During the course of this 10 wins in a row that they've put together, Nathan Ake has emerged as one of their most important players this season. But at this stage of the season, what looks like a hamstring injury for Nathan Ake.
But John, this pitch won't have helped the situation. It'll be heavy on the players' legs, the way that they've been slipping, making sure, when you are on a pitch like this, trying to get your grip on the pitch as well and make sure that you're turning properly, you put more pressure on your hamstrings and your quads, and that will be a real concern for Guardiola and Manchester City.
Yeah, Guardiola is actually scratching his head down there as he thinks about what to do about this. So no Joao Cancelo, who obviously is here at Bayern Munich and has just been substituted by Bayern Munich. And to lose a left-sided defender, so Laporte is coming onto the field to replace him. But, you know, there is a You wouldn't want another injury, Manchester City, in that area.
No, you certainly
That's
wouldn't.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's just that the feeling is that they would be okay with Laporte playing there for just to fill in as a stopgap every now and again, but a run of games there, it doesn't bring the same balance, does it, in intensity going forward. However, we know what Laporte's capable. He's an outstanding player.
Well, Nathan Ake is now being walked away to the halfway line. Pep Guardiola comes across and will actually speak to him. Two of them exchange words, and Nathan Ake is, it looks as though he is going to sit down on the bench as opposed to being taken away anywhere for treatment.
The back cave's not open yet though, John.
They can't open it during the game, can they? Creaking open. Where's the butler? Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 1.
Your butler's sat next to me.
Don't say that. That will upset him. Here's Musiala carrying the ball from the halfway line, and then Rodri is able to win the ball back and pass it out towards the left-hand side, although it's won back over there on the left. And now it's taken up to the edge of the area by Musiala. Choupo-Moting with a low shot that Ederson's able to go down and grasp it near the foot of his left post.
That's really weak from Choupo-Moting, isn't it? He's got to fire it across goal. Brilliant initially from Musiala, but he just side foots it slowly, and it's just, there's no power behind it. Ederson almost falls on top of it. It's not really a great attempt at goal.
So 1-0 Manchester City lead. This is BBC Radio 5 Live, bringing you commentary live from Bavaria in the Champions League. We're on Radio Manchester as well tonight. The 5 Live Football Daily will be available in the morning. If you don't hear it tonight on the air till 10:30, 5 Live Sport will bring you as much reaction as we can from here. You'll hear from Pep Guardiola on what he thinks about another semi-final against Real Madrid and Carlo Ancelotti. Discuss that much more later, but we can't see from where we're sitting here Nathan Ake, who's out of sight on the bench. What have they done to him, Stephen?
They were just strapping him up on the bench, but as you say, John, not to go down a tunnel or go and get treatment immediately to assess what's actually up with it. But the fact that he walked off and walked over to Pep Guardiola and had a discussion, and he didn't really say it was a pull, it was just a look of there's something there, but I'm not sure what.
City with the 1-0 lead, it's not the same anymore. There's not the same feel coming down from the stands. The 4-0 lead, to turn this around from this position, well, that would be truly remarkable. Long pass forward from Upamecano, that's going nowhere other than almost like a back pass to Ederson at the other end.
To be honest, John, I can't believe he stayed on again. Upamecano, he just looks completely lost of confidence. It's going to be one of Thomas Tuchel's biggest sort of coaching techniques with him, is to make sure that he can build his confidence up as quick as possible. It's going to be a real challenge because he looks really low.
So Manchester City on course for what would be an 11th win in a row. Bayern Munich, that's the first goal that they've conceded at home in the Champions League this season. Until they ran into Manchester City, they'd won all of their matches, 8 wins out of 8, and had conceded just the 2 goals. And of course, remember, that was in a group with Barcelona and Inter. The 2 goals that they conceded were scored by Victoria Plitzen. Stones plays the ball out towards this side of the field, but the referee spotted an infringement in the middle of the field, and that's a free kick to Bayern Munich in the centre circle, which hasn't pleased Pep Guardiola. But it's just dipped, hasn't it? You can feel it now inside the ground.
I think they understand that it's a foregone conclusion now. But it's for Thomas Tuchel now, it's about understanding where his players are at and what work needs to be done within this squad.
It's a brilliant game for almost an hour, though, wasn't it? Until that goal from Haaland pretty much put the matter beyond doubt.
Yeah, well, the half-time whistle changed it. John, the back cave's just opened, Ake's just gone down.
Oh yes, so it has. A different type of opening this time. It's opened sort of sideways, and then the handrails are automatically lowering. Here is Musiala on the edge of the box. Lovely work from him. Kimmich flips it forward, looking for Choupo-Moting, but Laporte was underneath this and calmly got a touch on it with his head back to Ederson, who just waits with the ball between his feet until Sadio Mane is tempted to have a sprint across and then just snatches it away up with his gloves. Home supporters felt that Musiala might have been fouled on the edge of the box.
John, you just said it there though, calmly. Manchester City haven't looked flustered at the back all game. They've really looked calm, in control of this tie.
It's going to be another double change from Thomas Tuchel for Bayern Munich, and Thomas Müller is going to come on, the great Thomas Müller, 33 years old. Some of the locals I spoke to yesterday were hoping that maybe he would start the match, but Choupo-Moting, who's just come back from the knee injury, he is coming off, and also Jamal Musiala is making his way off the field as well, who's been one of the stars. This young man who came through at Southampton and Chelsea, German international now, gets a handshake from Thomas Tuchel and a pat on the back, but a double change for Bayern with Müller and also Mathys Tel, this very exciting young French starlet, if I can use that word, French under-19 international, just 17 years old, who has been plucked from Rennes and is tipped for very great things in the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing him live. Kimmich playing the ball across, comes off the head of Rodri. It's brought down by by Sadio Mane, left side of the area. His ball across, up goes Stones to head it away, comes out to De Ligt, chests it down, but then overruns it. And now Manchester City will look to break, actually, with the central defenders out of position. Gundogan plays it forward. It could have been one-on-one Haaland and Upamecano again, but the pass from Gundogan was too far downfield, and goalkeeper Sommer was able to deal with it. Swansea are down to 10 men with just a few minutes to go. They're into added time. Swansea leading Preston by 3-2. Joe Allen has been sent off. Bayern Munich coming forward down the right-hand side, and Coleman giving it back to Pavard on the right flank near the corner flag itself. Pavard in the orange boots, then turning back and using Coleman. Coleman had a very good first half hour to the match. Now Pavard again, and Bayern Munich with the ball inside the Manchester City half. Kimmich curling one in, which is glanced on by Müller, but bounces all the way through to goalkeeper Ederson.
Well, he just didn't know what was round him, Müller. If he'd have just had a little look as the ball was coming in, he had a free header towards goal, tried to glance it on and hoping for a teammate coming in behind him, but they're just not on the same wavelength in this second half, Bayern Munich.
1-0 Manchester City. Still Bayern knows they attack to all of those waving flags in the end to our right. Now ball on the left hand side, which is played across into the penalty area, and half a chance for the teenager Tell to turn in the box, but the defender was there to get a touch and it bounced away, and Manchester City have got it back. It's been another goal in the other quarter-final tonight in the Champions League, which is being watched from afar by John Akers.
And surely it's all over now. It's Inter 3, Benfica 1, 5-1 on aggregate. Correa off the bench, right foot, lovely little turn and a right foot shot in off the post. An all Milan semi-final. Inter Milan 5, Benfica 1 on aggregate.
So Inter against AC Milan and Manchester City against Real Madrid. The Port clearing it away on the edge of the box. Little ball over from the left-hand side from Alphonso Davies. There's been a bit of talk, as you pointed out to me yesterday, Stephen, that Alphonso Davies might be a possible target for Manchester City when the summer window opens. The Canadian international left-back, talking of left-sided defenders, but Manchester City in possession, and the ball is played all the way across field from right to left, and it's out of play for a throw-in to Bayern Munich. There was at the match involving Swansea and Preston, I'm told that there was a melee when Joe Allen was sent off, and Preston's manager Ryan Lowe has also been red carded in that match. It is still Swansea 3, Preston 2. Full-time whistles will be going very, very soon in those 7:45 kickoffs. We've got 15 minutes to play here, just over in Munich. Ball to Coleman, right side of the area, left-footed shot, Ederson goes down, and it's been turned in by Tell. And Bayern Munich do have... No, they don't. The offside flag was up, and the goal does not stand. It's a free kick to Manchester City. Offside, and Mathys Tel, his moment there to score in a Champions League quarter-final, snatched away because, Stephen?
Yeah, I think Kingsley Coleman goes a little bit too early as the ball is played down the side to him. Great play from Coleman as he nips inside Laporte, slips initially as he hits his shot, parried out into the path of Tell, who puts it into an empty net, but rightly flagged offside for Kingsley Coleman.
So still Bayern Munich 0, Manchester City 1, and Swansea are now 4-2 up on Preston. Joel Pirot has scored again. That's his second goal of the match, and now for the Swansea top scorer, 19 goals in all competitions this season, as Goretzka takes the ball on and plays it to the left hand side, and now Davis, Alphonso Davis, square right across the box. Coleman, there are so many red shirts in there. Coleman delayed his cross, even though Diaz had gone to ground and slipped over. Coleman hit it into him and it bounced behind for a corner.
Alphonso Davis, though, just take the ball out your feet and hit it with your left foot and have a shot. How many times tonight, John, have we seen this Bayern Munich team trying to walk the ball into the goal?
1-0 Manchester City lead, 4-0 on aggregate. Kimmich with the corner into the near post, which is flicked on by a Bayern head. De Ligt is after it. It's played by Mane, and then Tell with a shot from an angle that hits Stones in the chest, and Ederson's tried to keep it in. He slid all the way along the dead ball line, sent the ball spiralling way high into the air, but it is a corner, couldn't keep it in. Corner from the left hand side for Bayern. Fifth change for Bayern Munich, and the Croatian international Josip Stanisic is coming onto the field to replace Benjamin Pavard. Another goal at Reading, Chris Wise.
Equaliser for Luton with 9 minutes to go. The leading scorer Carlton Morris has got it, his 19th of the season, forced him from close range, but Luton have to win to secure a playoff place. Reading 1, Luton 1.
On a great run of form though, 11 matches unbeaten it would be for Luton, but in their position feel that they need to win it. But the corner for Bayern Munich taken in underneath the crossbar, but Ederson made the save. However, Bayern with Coleman, and the ball's deflected goalwards and cleared off the line. It was played past Ederson, who came out, but Diaz was there to race back, sprint back, and was able to clear it from near the goal line.
They're never going to score, are they? If you can't score that, I mean, what an absolute mess from Kingsley Coleman.
And back to Blackburn, a late goal, Lee Blakeman.
Coventry have equalised, and I think their goalkeeper has got the final touch. Ben Wilson, corner sent in front of the away end, and he poked it over the line. It is Ben Wilson's goal, that's who it's being credited to. Coventry level on 95, Blackburn 1, Coventry 1.
Everybody loves a goal-scoring goalkeeper, don't they, apart from Blackburn Rovers tonight. Peter Schmeichel's here tonight. I remember him scoring one once upon a time. But 1-0 Manchester City lead, just a little ragged at the moment, mind you, with a 4-goal cushion.
I don't think they're out of control though, John. I think they look comfortable. I think there's more goals in for Manchester City if they really want to go after it. They're still leaving Haaland 1v1 at the back. I cannot understand what they're trying to do. They're 4-0 down in the tie. I know you've got to go for it, but come out of this game with a little bit of pride.
1-0 Manchester City. That's Stephen Warnock, former England defender. Nader Manuha will be with us again until 10:30 tonight on 5 Live Sport. Grealish for Manchester City going back to the halfway line. We will obviously look ahead very much to another semi-final between Manchester City and Real Madrid after the extraordinary events of that tie last season, and you'll hear commentary on it here on 5 Live. This is 5 Live tonight here in Munich. Radio Manchester as well with us. Ball to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva up to the edge of the area, beats De Ligt, still going, a flick to Haaland, didn't come off, and Upamecano was able to come across and clear it away for Bayern Munich. And Pep Guardiola tonight just making the one change so far, with Ake having to go off and Laporte coming on, and Goretzka now for Bayern Munich out to the left hand side, and Sadio Mane now taking on Akanji to the dead ball line. Akanji went with him and got the final touch to put it out of play for another corner to Bayern Munich. QPR Norwich, Sohail Sahi.
Yeah, it's finished QPR 1, Norwich 1, not the result either side desired. QPR took the lead, Norwich responded and equalised straight after half time, and as things stand, John, QPR just above the drop zone, and Norwich, they're still flirting with the playoffs. Full time, Norwich 1, QPR 1, beg your pardon, Norwich 1.
Alvarez is going to come on for Manchester City shortly, so there will be another change. Now, suddenly, with 10 minutes to go, dozens and dozens of people have decided that's their moment to head for the exits, head to the U-Bahn, which is a bit of a walk from here.
John, I think we've got a VAR check. Sadio Mane crosses the ball and it hits Akanji in the arm, and I think they're just wondering whether it's going to be a penalty.
Okay, well, so this was at very close quarters as Mane tried to pull the ball back. The referee says that he's going to be called across to the television screen on the far side of the ground, so the expectation would be that this will be given as a penalty. But they're going to make him come and have a look at this, though, to make his own mind up. So it was at very close quarters, Stephen, and Akanji's arm was outstretched. He's just had one look at it and he's given a penalty to Bayern Munich. And actually, after the penalty was given to Manchester City in the first half, which was very much disputed by Bayern Munich, probably he felt that he had no alternative there.
Yeah, I think it's very harsh. It's so close to Akanji. Where's he meant to go? His body position, where he's at. Two penalties that shouldn't have been given tonight. Really poor.
Well, it's this issue again, though, isn't it, of handball, which the decision makers are going to have to address. But it is a penalty. It's a penalty to Bayern Munich, and Goretzka has got the ball underneath his arm. Ederson was there near the penalty spot. What have you spotted?
No, it's Kimmich who's got the ball.
Kimmich, yep, who is going to take the penalty. He's got the ball underneath his arm. He's now putting it on the spot, and I think Ederson's just got to be a little careful, having already been yellow carded in this match, incidentally, if he was trying to interfere with the penalty spot. However, he's now backed away onto his line, so it is going to be the Bayern Munich captain to make it 1-1 on the night, to score finally Bayern's first goal of this quarter-final tie. It will be too little too late, surely, but Kimmich waiting, and here he comes now from the penalty spot, right down the middle, and Bayern Munich have finally pulled the ball in the back of the Manchester City net, and it stands. And on the night, Bayern Munich 1, Manchester City 1, so 4-1 on aggregate now.
A really calmly taken penalty by Joshua Kimmich, straight down the middle. Ederson, little shuffle of the legs, trying to put him off. He doesn't buy it. He continues to watch Ederson as he strikes the ball and sends him the wrong way. Too little too late, though, as you say, John, for Bayern Munich.
That was the end that Erling Haaland put it over the net, but Kimmich showed Haaland how to do it. That's actually what he was trying to do. Haaland high into the net, down the middle, and 1-1 on the night. So perhaps.
Oh, he's gone. Here he goes.
Thomas Tuchel has walked out of his coaching area. He said something else out of turn, and that's a second yellow card. And
no, he mustn't have been booked then, John, in the first half. Well, he's going to get booked now because he's going at the assistant referee.
Well, that's mystifying. That is mystifying. However, that is definitely a yellow card for Thomas Tuchel, and how it's only one yellow card. It must have been, as was suggested actually at half-time, that maybe it was a member of his staff that was yellow carded in the first half. So that is two of his coaches and Tuchel have now been yellow carded. So 1-1 on the night. Bayern Munich haven't given it up. Davis down the left, showing real pace. Tell with a shot on the turn, but wild. It was wild as the challenge came in on him, and high and over the top of the right corner, and goal kick Manchester City.
Yeah, you saw the pace of Alphonso Davies down the left-hand side, just blistering away from Akanji. Can't get anywhere near him, pulls it back, and he probably makes the wrong decision, Tell.
Another goal in the other quarter-final tonight, John Akers.
Too little too late for Benfica as well. Inter 3, Benfica 2 on the night, 5-2 on aggregate. We're into 4 minutes of added time. It was Antonio Silva with a header from a free kick.
And did that goal from the Coventry goalkeeper win them a point, Lee Blakeman?
It did. It's ended Blackburn 1, Coventry 1. The goal-scoring goalkeeper grabbing the headlines here. Ben Wilson scoring Coventry's equaliser in the 95th minute. That cancelled out Sam Gallagher's header in the first half. Amazing scenes in the away end behind where Wilson's goal was scored from a corner. Blackburn 1, Coventry 1.
No, yellow card for Thomas Tuchel, a second yellow card, and he has now been sent off. And off he stalks as Stewart says, no, you're going in the wrong direction, and then says you have to leave in the other direction, and he's taking off towards the corner flag. And there we are, 2 yellows in the space of just 2 or 3 minutes, and that after a yellow card for Laporte for falling all over the back of Kingsley Coman. And it's a free kick to Bayern Munich, and Thomas Tuchel has been sent off.
Well, I just don't understand it, because Laporte was always going to get a yellow card. It was never in danger. He's just animated, and he's... Well, you called it at half-time, John. We called it in the first half. He had to go.
Free kick then, which is driven into the box by Kimmich, headed away on the edge of the penalty area for Manchester City, and De Bruyne will get the ball down and run it forward. Still going, plays it for the run of Alvarez, who's come onto the field. Alvarez taking on the excellently recovering Alphonso Davies.
Oh, there's one person he wasn't beaten for pace, and it was him.
Who was able to dispossess him. So Alvarez coming onto the field for Erling Haaland, and also Kyle Walker is preparing to come on as well. So Pep Guardiola quite shrewdly here, having just conceded a goal, making one substitution and then another one, so that'll break the play up. Grealish, he wants no slips. He doesn't want another Bayern Munich goal. Excellent play from Grealish, keeping the ball. The Manchester City fans up at the top tier loved that. Grealish still going. Oh, and he might have been caught there right on the edge of the box. He fell into the area. The challenge coming in on him from Stanisic, who's just come onto the field, but it's a free kick. Oh, this will be millimetres outside of the box, and a yellow card as well to Stanisic for the foul.
Brilliant from Jack Grealish, just invites challenge after challenge. He nutmegged one player, then he just dinks inside, and Stanisic pulls him down. It will be looked at by VAR to see whether it was definitely outside, I'm sure. It was just mesmerising from Jack Grealish.
Also full-time scores in the Championship. Swansea have beaten Preston by 4-2, but there were red cards, 2 red cards in that match. Ryan Lowe sent off, the Preston manager, just like Thomas Tuchel here, and it has finished Watford 1, Cardiff City 3. A crucial win for Cardiff City down at the bottom end of the table. And Kevin De Bruyne is coming off, and Kyle Walker comes on to replace him. So Haaland off, De Bruyne off, and Nathan Ake having to go off with what looked like a hamstring problem, but we'll find out more on that from Pep Guardiola later. This is 5 Live, Radio Manchester from the BBC. Listen to the live radio via BBC Sounds as well. And Manchester City with the free kick, Gundogan and Grealish together near the left corner of the box. Taken short. Grealish is actually going to take it towards the corner flag, which he does, and then plays it out off the shins of Matisse Tell for a throw-in that Manchester City, well, Jack Grealish finds 2 balls at his feet there after 2 are thrown back on from different directions, and then it's a throw-in that is won by Alvarez. So out of play for another throw-in to Manchester City. In the 2 matches that are still underway in the Championship, it's still Middlesbrough 3, Hull City 1, and Reading 1, Luton 1, incidentally. If you didn't hear earlier, Manchester United 1-0 winners against Arsenal in the Women's Super League. Throw-in taken again for Manchester City, but a foul by Alvarez, who just knocked the ball away there, and Bayern are complaining about that. But it is a throw-in, actually. It's a throw-in as the ball bounced out of play, so Stanisic will take that. Can't get the ball out of the Bayern right-back area. Tell heads it on. Header forward by Laporte. Gundogan nods it up in the air. Stanisic with a header. And Bayern with Upamecano, who lifts it out towards the far side. Sadio Mane coming back, an awkward bouncing ball, he can't keep it in, and it's a throw into Manchester City. We're in the 90th minute. Manchester City are nearly there, Stephen Warnock.
Outstanding from Manchester City tonight. Weathered the storm in the first half. Could have found themselves a goal down from Leroy Sané, who went through. Missed a penalty, which probably wasn't a penalty, but Haaland misses that. But what they did, John, so well was they got themselves to half-time at 0-0, and then it allowed Guardiola to make changes. It allowed them to be more positive, and they've ran out comfortable winners tonight. A really professional performance and an outstanding team.
And another goal in the Inter-Benfica match, John Akers.
It's another one right at the end for Benfica. It finishes 3-3 on the night, but it won't be enough. It was Musa with the goal. They swept home. They never gave up, Benfica, but it was all over when Inter went 5-1 up on aggregate. They'll face AC Milan in the semi-finals, a Milan derby. It finished 5-3 on aggregate to Inter.
So there we are, confirmation that it will be a Milan derby in one of the semi-finals. And in the next few minutes, we've got 5 minutes of added time being played here, we'll have confirmation that it will be Manchester City and Real Madrid going again, and Kimmich for Bayern Munich, who will be going out in the quarter-finals of the Champions League for a third consecutive season. Full-time at Middlesbrough now, Charlie Slater.
It's finished Borough 3, Hull 1. 3 goals in 5 minutes for Borough. Turn the game on its head inside the hour mark. Hayden Hackney, Cameron Archer and Chuba Akpom, his 28th of the season and his 9th in 9 consecutive home games, a new championship record. Borough got to Luton on Monday night, a battle for third. Both sides could have secured a playoff place in the top 6 by kick-off if West Brom failed to beat Sunderland on Sunday lunchtime. Full-time here, Middlesbrough 3, Hull 1.
1-1 here, Bayern Munich 1, Manchester City 1, 4-1 on aggregate. As Kyle Walker, new onto the field, has to sprint across, ball's played into the near post, and Sadio Mane with the chance that he puts wide, opened up his body at the near post, but couldn't get it on target.
He felt that Kyle Walker was brought on to do a job against Alphonso Davies down the left-hand side, but such is his pace, he still manages to get a shot in, and Sadio Mane gets across in front of the defender, gets a shot in at goal, and just pushes it wide of the post. But Ederson's got a problem now. He's gone down with cramp. I'm not sure how he's got cramp. He's been stood in his goal for most of the night.
That is odd. I mean, he dived for that chance from Sadio Mane, which went wider than near post, but went down, I think it is, only cramp. Kanji was sliding in there as well, but he's okay, he's back up on his feet, and 1-1 remains the score, with 2 minutes of added time on the clock. They've taken Thomas Tuchel away, and they've sat him in the stands to the right of the dugout. So I don't know, seems to be in amongst. I mean, there seems to be just a lot of spectators down in that area, but they've found a seat for him. And Manchester City playing the ball away from the back up towards Alvarez, who turns the full 360 degrees, then uses Grealish, who flicks the ball out of play for a throw. Full time at Reading now, Chris Wise.
Reading 1, Luton 1. Reading's goal scored by Andy Carroll just after half-time. Then he was sent off for a second yellow card for punching the ball into the back of the net. Luton's equaliser, 9 minutes to go, scored by Carlton Morris. Reading remain in the bottom 3. Luton still need 1 more point to secure their playoff spot. Reading 1, Luton 1.
That's the score here as well in the Champions League. The Bayern Munich supporters in the end to our right have unfurled a long banner, a white banner with red writing on it. You might have been aware of the messages that they put up last week in Manchester, which were pointed comments against some of the super owners of the biggest clubs. Well, in German, the message here, I'll tell you in a moment, that Bayern with Koeman, who takes it away and through the middle again, Bayern continuing to sweep forward, Mane with the ball into the edge of the penalty area, that's blocked by Bernardo Silva, comes to Goretzka, his little chip to the edge of the area, Tell trying to bring it down, Manchester City haven't cleared it, and then finally they do with Rodri stepping in. And that banner to our right reads, when it's been translated for me, targets may be missed, not the values of the club though. Scrutinise how the club is led. And that is perceived, I mean, we heard this yesterday, didn't we, Stephen, when we were talking to some of the regular Bayern watchers, you know, Oliver Kahn and Salihamidzic, who make the big decisions here. You know, their position is very much being questioned at the moment, and frequently in this match we've seen Oliver Kahn sitting in the stands. Stanisic on the right-hand side plays the ball across, and then arriving on it, Coleman hits it right-footed but snatched at it. There was a defender diving in as well, and it's very well widened behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, I think the appointment of Thomas Tuchel's a good appointment. I think he will come good. I think it was interesting when we were sat listening to İlkay Gundogan yesterday. He said he's an outstanding manager. When they click, wow, that was his words. So he's worked with him, he understands what he's about.
But there we are. There'll be questions certainly about the direction that Bayern Munich are heading. There's great disappointment here as the final whistle goes and Manchester City are through. They have completed the job. 1-1 on the night, so 4-1 on aggregate. But Pep Guardiola leads his team into the semi-finals of the Champions League for a third consecutive season. And Thomas Tuchel has stepped down from the stands where he was put after being shown a red card. Remember how Thomas Tuchel was the winner when Manchester City and Chelsea met in the Champions League final in Porto when he was the Chelsea manager. Well, there's a little bit of revenge here for Pep Guardiola, the two of them coming together and sharing words. Manchester City have done it. What a good win this is against the 6 times winners, the German champions. So the English champions have knocked out the German champions after a 1-1 draw tonight. Stephen Warnock.
Yeah, really professional performance from Manchester City. It was always going to be tough for them to come here with the scoreline. What type of performance do you do? Do you sit in? Do you invite pressure onto you and try and counter-attack, or do you go after it and try and score more goals? I think they got caught in the first half between a rock and a hard place of not knowing what to do. The second half, they were so much more positive. They got the breakthrough goal, and then it was just about seeing the game out for them, and Bayern Munich got a consolation goal. But overall, over the 2 legs, the best team goes through.
Yep, super match for an hour. Erling Haaland missing a penalty in the first half, the first time for Manchester City. Bayern giving it a real goal, but really from the moment that Erling Haaland opened the scoring, just short of the hour, that was it. As Manchester City took a 4-0 lead in the tie. Kimmich got the penalty back late on, but 1-1 on the night, and Manchester City through 4-1 on aggregate.
Until 10:30 when Colin will be here. We'll round up what's happened in the other quarter-final. Inter Milan going through there, so that'll be an all-Milan semi-final. We'll do the EFL, we'll do the WSL as well, where Manchester United have beaten Arsenal this evening. Stephen Warnock and Nadim Anua are with us. Stephen said it, Nadim, just a professional performance tonight, and really in control throughout the whole tie. I know Bayern had chances, but you never felt it was going to run away from City, did you?
No, I don't think so. I think you're right. Bayern did have chances, and you'd expect that them playing in front of their home crowd with the history that they have. But unfortunately for them, sometimes when they were sort of committing bodies forward, they kind of left themselves a bit open, and that's what we saw. Even though there was a mistake for the Man City goal, that could have happened again. And I did wonder that if Bayern did score, maybe if they overcommitted, maybe City would punish them. So unfortunately, it kind of felt a bit like it did yesterday in that Chelsea game, where as soon as the away team scores that first goal and adds to their lead, you can see the air just essentially leave the stadium, leave the sort of moment, and it was good before then. And then by the end, it almost seems like an exhibition type game, which was a shame because it could have been a great tie.
Looks to me, John, as though there is one player in particular on the Manchester City side of things who's relishing this at the moment.
Go on.
Oh, do you stop? What, did you stop looking? Erling Haaland was celebrating very much in front of the City fans.
I was actually watching the Bayern Munich players who went to their supporters, but Erling Haaland, Borussia Dortmund man, clearly enjoying the moment with the Manchester City fans who were up in the end to our left.
Tell you what, Stephen, he took his goal really well, didn't he? I know Upamecano fell over, but if you actually watch on the replay, the touch to then take it over Upamecano was very deliberate.
Yeah, and that's the quality of the player, isn't it? When he's in that position, that's why he scores so many goals. We often say it when you look at the great players in world football over the years, they have an ability to slow time down when they get in those positions, and he has that ability in the penalty box. Outstanding finish from Haaland, and it was just that one moment he'd been looking for the whole game. I know he missed the penalty, but I'm talking about open play. He was just so clinical in that position, and that's why he's been brought to the football club.
Did Bayern play into his hands and City's hands, Nadim, or is that what they just had to do?
I don't think it's good to see a Bayern Munich side that's on the back foot, so they were going to be on the front foot. And in fairness, they had some good opportunities, whether it was the Sané one early in the first half or some of the shots which were getting blocked by the City defence. But overall, they didn't make City incredibly uncomfortable. And then at the end, for Haaland to score the goals that he does, capitalising on the mistake, that's one thing. But I think, obviously, some people said he signed for the wrong club and so on earlier in the season. But there was something which actually came from that goal, which I think we'll forget about. It was a great save by Ederson. John Stones, the old Barnsley John Stones, booted it forward to his big number 9, who headed it down for the number 10, who then got played in, and then before you know it, there's the goal that sort of changed the whole tie itself. We should never forget that, chappers.
No, absolutely should never forget that. Do you see, and John, you could come in on this as well, because you've seen City a lot in the Champions League this season. Do you see a City that are now... It's Real Madrid in the semi-finals, but do you see a different City to the last 2 or 3 years in the Champions League? Any of you?
First of all, rather amusingly, just being passed by 4 or 5 nuns wearing Bayern Munich scarves, which I can't ever recall seeing in a football ground before. So they've given me a nice little smile there. I don't think they're too upset. They seem very even-tempered, as you'd expect of nuns.
Well, I was going to say, what else are you expecting from nuns after that?
But anyway, that caught my eye. Anyway, in answer to the question, the simple answer to that has to be yes, because they've got Erling Haaland in it, and I mean, he's put the frighteners on Upamecano in this match, hasn't he? And
you were going to say fear of God then, weren't you? And stopped yourself in case one of the nuns was in earshot.
Yeah, well, yes, I could have said that. I could have said all sorts of things, but. He makes the big difference, and I don't care who you are at the moment. When you look at the guy who scored 48 goals this season, then that gives them something they haven't had before, and also they're on this 11-match winning streak now. They're playing the way that they are, and okay, they haven't clicked tonight in the way that they would, but I don't think we were necessarily expecting that. I think the overall picture is, and Real Madrid will feel this, and we know this, having been there for the Liverpool tie a few weeks ago. They're in the Champions League semi-finals again, and you have to respect Carlo Ancelotti and that team for what they are capable of doing in the competition. But we know, a little bit like Bayern Munich, there are a lot of things going on at Real Madrid that aren't exactly, harmonious. So Manchester City, I feel, are in a much better place right now ahead of that semi.
Chappers, there's one thing though. Rudiger will not be fearful of Haaland. He'll fancy himself in that. He's an outstanding defender. Upamecano was petrified tonight. I don't know whether you could see it on your TV screens, but there was times where he was 10 yards deeper than De Ligt, because he was so fearful of the pace of Haaland that he kept on dropping. But when they play Real Madrid, Rudiger will go toe-to-toe with him. He's quick, he's aggressive, and he'll relish that challenge. Now, whether he'll come out on top, I'm not so sure, but he'll do a better job than Upamecano, because Upamecano was dreadful over the 2 legs, and it happens because you do get that fear when you're playing a machine like Haaland, that you wonder how to defend against him.
I think what I'd say as well, and this might be a piping hot take, chappers, so please pull me up if it is, but I think for Man City, one big difference this season, obviously they've got Haaland, but it's the fact that the second leg against Real Madrid is at home. I think the fact that teams have to go to that second leg at the Bernabeu, it is literally the most daunting fixture that you can have in European football. But for them, I think from the City perspective, I feel like the demand for that game itself, tickets to go and see that game, would be bigger than any between now and the end of the season. Because what an iconic moment it could be. They've got the momentum from beating Bayern Munich when they got, the quote-unquote harder side of the draw. Well, can you get revenge against the kings of Europe? And can you do it on your home turf in that second leg? So as long as they're in with a chance after the first, I believe they can do it. Their home record in the Champions League is amazing. And, they'll definitely believe that they can get it to that final again.
I was just going to say, Mark, remember, they've lost 2 of their 3 Champions League semi-finals, Manchester City. The 2 they lost were to Real Madrid, but in both of those semi-finals, the second leg was in Madrid.
The first one was under Pellegrini, though, wasn't it? I mean, not that I'm sort of disparaging that, but that feels like a very long time ago and a very different Manchester City. I mean, if you look back last year, just to remind people, City lost 6-5 on aggregate. They won 4-3 at home, but then lost 3-1 at Real Madrid. 3 goals conceded from the 90th minute onwards. Do you sense around the club there will be an element of revenge, Nedum?
Listen, it's very hard to get in and around those players, so I don't know that side of it. But from a fan perspective, they're definitely thinking about that. I think a lot of them know that the feeling they had last year going into that 90th minute, they were on their way to the final again. And then before you know it, everything was gone and Real Madrid controlled that whole period of extra time, basically. So there will be an element of revenge there. And that's what I was saying in terms of people being desperate to go and see it, to go and see if the team can get across the line. And as well, with all respect to the 2 teams from Milan who could obviously go on and win it, if you're the team that beats Real Madrid in the Champions League, you have to believe you can win it all. So I think the fact that second leg is at home, they're playing as well as they are doing at this moment in time, and they have the players who, faced disappointment before and know they can get across the line. I think, it's going to be a fantastic... to be fair, both semi-finals, I think, are fantastic in their own individual right.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to watching this Man City one.
And just remember, how close they were as well, Manchester City, to getting what would have been, I'm sure, a clinching goal. And Courtois made those saves. I remember particularly the one with his toe end from Grealish. It's such a fine line.
But there are so many mouth-watering battles, aren't there, in this semi-final, Stephen? And for all Real Madrid have been very up and down domestically, 9 points behind Barcelona in La Liga, in second, and yet, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they went to the Camp Nou and beat Barcelona 4-0 in the Copa del Rey. For all that Real Madrid have been a bit up and down domestically, you look at every area of the pitch, whether it is Rudiger or Alaba against Haaland, whether it is Modric and Kroos in that midfield against City's midfield, whether it is Benzema against, Ruben Dias at the back, there are mouth-watering battles everywhere.
Yeah, there are, and that's the great thing about the tie. It is mouth-watering. That you look at it and think, which way is it going to swing? And the great thing about the game is that we know there's players that can create moments of magic all over the pitch that can change the tie. I was out in Madrid a few weeks ago watching Liverpool out there, and the feeling around Madrid is what probably most people will understand is it's all about winning the Champions League. It's not about La Liga. La Liga's okay. If they get it, they get it. But they judge themselves as a club on winning the Champions League. So they come to their own in the Champions League, and that's why you see them so strong in that competition. But it'll be fascinating, the battles all over the pitch. And you miss one out, Vinicius Junior.
Yeah.
He is phenomenal player. He has just terrorised Trent Alexander-Arnold and Reece James in the space of a month. And you're looking at that thinking you're going to have to be on your game that night, whoever plays in that right-back position. But when you think about that position and the formation, if you give him the freedom out on that left wing, you're in trouble.
So what happens with this right-back hybrid 3 at the back that City have gone with for... the last 6 weeks, last couple of months, Nedum. What do you do?
Chappers, I was going to say, you'll get John Murray to ask that in the press conference today.
Well, I think more to the point, is this where Kyle Walker comes back into the picture?
So what I would say in regards to that is that from our side of things, we sort of revert to being more conservative whenever we think about football. But for Pep Guardiola, he's pretty aggressive. And I thought in that first half, John Stones, as I say, wasn't having the best of times. So I thought maybe he'll change it. Maybe we'll just stick to the 4. Then 2 minutes into the second half, John Stones in the midfield playing the balls and sticking with the plan. So as a consequence, I think they'll acknowledge the fact that Vinicius Junior is a very, very key asset. But I don't think there's a player on planet Earth that guarantees you stop him anyway. And I think if they can still find a way to have that extra body in midfield, then before you know it, you're looking at Valverde, you're looking at Modric, and one more potentially against City's 4. And as a consequence, is that not a better opportunity for City to control the game and potentially be able to create from that standpoint?
You worry about us rather than we worry about you.
I would personally love to see Kyle Walker going head-to-head with Vinicius Junior. I thought he did quite a good job last year, even though he was injured in those 2 ties. But then at the end of the day, for City, they want, this is the same as with Bayern Munich. both teams want to be on the front foot, but unfortunately it can never be the case. And I think Real Madrid are a prime example. Go on.
Nathan, would you see him maybe putting Kyle Walker into Akanji's position just so he's got that speed and that right wing back, or the right side of defensive position?
Possibly, but then in the same breath, Akanji's been exceptional this whole season. And like I say, with like Vinicius Jr., he's a great player, but what we see when we see Real Madrid are the highlights of him. He does have weaknesses, and Real Madrid have been exposed with those a few times this season, which is why they're not going to win La Liga. So it's going to be one of those games, I think, as was the case in the semi-finals last year with City, where, you know, they won 4-3, but then lost 3-1, but could have scored 2 or 3 in that next one. I think it's going to be lots of goals that see you through as opposed to clean sheets.
But if you remember I was just going to say, do you remember that 4-3 in the first leg when John Stones had to go off injured and Fernandinho ended up at right back, and it was Vinicius? Do you remember Vinicius Jr. rounding him, just running away from him? Well, they won't have Fernandinho as right back in this time.
But on your take on the flipping of the fixtures this time, the flipping of the legs, Nadem, do you go more conservative in the Bernabeu to set yourself up at home?
Do you know what? See, this is. I feel like this is the sort of like British human nature when we think about football. Like let's try and hold on. Let's take a step back, and then, you know, we'll crack on in the second leg. But I don't think City do that. I think they are a very, very progressive side, and I think Real Madrid are as well. I don't think they'll be taking into account any of Man City's strengths from that standpoint to fundamentally change who they are. So I think they stick to the plan. They try and control the game if they can. Understand that to get to the final across 2 legs, you have to be clinical.
I don't think it's British football, Nadem. I think it's me just asking typically glass half empty, miserable questions.
Do you want me to get those nuns back?
Let's just talk about the other semi-final.